Big Sills. Yes, sir, baby. Week 3 National Football Show. Senor, thank you very much, man. We had a great time talking to The Rock. And I know many of you checked it out, and thank you so much, man. Got to thank my guy, Tone, for making that interview happen, too, man. He did it on the weekend on his time and put it all together, and Rock's people just were absolutely thrilled with the way Tone was so easy to work with. So, Tone, we throw a lot of love out to you here on making that whole thing happen. So, before we get started, you know, yesterday was a little chaotic behind the scenes a little bit here, so we're going to start our Hooters gift certificate giveaway opportunities for you again. Here's our winners that won last week. Mark Muser, a.k.a. NJ Fishing Maniac. Congratulations to you from Jersey, and Andy Snyder from Delaware, last week's winners. So now you get an opportunity today with all you have to do is send us an email. Simple. Give us all your information on you being able to give us an idea where you are in the world, and you get an opportunity to win some Hooters gift certificates. Simple as that. And we'll give you a shot. You get the email up. All you have to do is send us that email, and we're going to have a code word that is going to be out there throughout the program over the next 3 hours. And all you have to do is identify that code word, and you get a chance to win yourself an opportunity to get those great gift certificates from our friends at Hooters. There's the information we need. The email is dansileo@gmail.com, and you'll see that code word throughout the entire show. That will be popping up every now and then. So we look forward to you being part of this thing, and we'll name the winners next week. Thank you so much. Just like Mark and Andy here won last week's gift certificates. Before we start out with Eagles, NFL, I do want to hit on one thing with the National Football League, and most notably with the Browns. You know, it's 2 weeks, right? I'm starting to think and starting to lean on the side. If the Browns don't get this right at quarterback, this is maybe turning into one of the absolute biggest disasters in the history of paying quarterbacks. It might be even a bigger disaster than what we just saw in San Francisco with Trey Lance. You know, there wasn't a financial number around that. There were a lot of draft picks in future. You never know what you're getting when it comes to draft picks. But when you put that economic stranglehold on your salary cap like that, and that guy is not panning out and working out, you got it also going on right now in Denver. Look at how important getting that decision at the quarterback position is. Dude, I would die on a sword for those 3 first-round picks that San Francisco may have lost. If Purdy works out and they get to an NFC title game, I'm going to swallow that. But $230 million guaranteed? Dude, that's a lot of money on your cap. And you gave up a king's ransom to get him to Houston. That might be the biggest disaster. It's 2 games. They're 1-1, okay? But he has not looked good so far, okay? He has not looked good so far. You know what? I never thought about that, Scott. Baker Mayfield is playing better football right now than Deshaun Watson is. That's a fact. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mayfield's playing better football than Deshaun Watson right now. Yes, sir. And by the way, that number is falling. It was at 7 at one time. It's now 5 for the next Monday night game, the first game of the doubleheader on ESPN. That number is falling. So let's move on here. By the way, that injury to Nick Chubb. Let me ask you guys something. Let me go here with you on this with Nick Chubb. Let's go here with Nick Chubb here. The running back position in the National Football League. Got to say this to you, man. Why should these running backs put their ass on the line? Why should they put their asses on the line all the time when it comes to playing through injuries? You know, we pray for a speedy recovery. We pray for all his health. But if you're a running back in the NFL, remember guys, I told you, if you're a running back in the NFL, why would I go the extra mile when the National Football League doesn't want to go the extra mile for me? It just makes no sense. Why should I do that when you're not going the extra mile? Chubb gets injured last night, catastrophic injury last night. ESPN's getting kudos for not playing it. Okay, I guess. Why would you want to play that anyway? You know, what are you going to do? Public executions, airing them? No one wants to see devastating injuries to players. You know, well, again, maybe it's America because we stop on highways when it comes to accidents. We slow down to see if anybody dies on the highway. So maybe that's part of the draw to it. I don't know. But, boy, you feel for Nick Chubb. Great football player. A career-threatening injury last night to him. All right. Let's move on here. So Nick Sirianni said that the Eagles are looking for Bradbury, Gainwell, and Blankenship potentially to be able to be ready for this coming Monday. Let me ask you something about Nick Sirianni before we move on here. Do you think Nick Sirianni is a good coach? I'm going to make a comparison to another coach in the league here. How many believe that Nick's the right guy for the Eagles? Getting a little testy, isn't he? And he's 2-0. Funny, isn't it? I don't know 5-star if he's soft. Puppet? No. Hey, go along, get along in today's NFL. I'm not criticizing that. Okay? Bruce goes, I never liked the hire. Interesting. Okay? A good clown coach. Huh. I'll tell you what, there's more dissenters today than there have been in the past. JM goes, depends on how he handles this Johnson dilemma. Pete says elite coach. Quan goes 25-11 ain't soft. I'm glad Quan brought that up. 25-11. Well, I want to throw something at you over the first 3 years of Matt LaFleur's coaching career. He was 39-10 with an 800 win percentage. You think Matt LaFleur is a good coach? Is Matt LaFleur a good coach? 39-10. Hey, Quan, 39-10. Rodgers. Oh, wait a minute. Hurts. Whoa, wait a minute. Hurts. Oh, so you're giving him credit for the 25-11. So Matt LaFleur must be an even better coach then. You think so? Is Matt LaFleur? Matt LaFleur has a great record. Developing a brand new quarterback, too, in the process. Guy was 39-10. His first 3 years, would you consider him one of the elite coaches in the NFL? Everyone's going to land on the pot of Aaron Rodgers. Of course they are. Having Rodgers makes that job a bit easier. Well, I thought having Hurts on the job makes it easier. But I think he will find out more about LaFleur this year with how he develops Love. So then we really don't know how good Nick Sirianni is as a coach. Right, Tone? If Jalen's not there, how do you know Sirianni's a good coach? Sirianni was 2-5 as his play caller. He wasn't helping him. Sirianni's elite, so then Matt LaFleur's elite. Right? See, I'm just trying to use the same metric you're using. Well, hey, Rodgers makes it easy for LaFleur. Well, I'm going to apply that same metric that you did for Matt LaFleur to Nick Sirianni. Common sense would tell me that's how you gauge quarterbacks and coaches. Look at Bill Belichick and Brady. Another great comparison. Over 20 years of those two guys working together. By the way, just 5 years ago, Bill Belichick won a Super Bowl 14-7. Brady had nothing to do with that Super Bowl. That was a defensive wizard coach game. 14-7. Brady made a couple plays, but nothing great in that game. Belichick, that was a 14-7 gem. A gem. That was just 5 years ago. What did Brady do in that Super Bowl? Brady was terrible in that Super Bowl. You're going to give him the credit for that? 14-7? Really? Okay. Interesting how you see coaches. We found out when Hurts got injured last year. Hurts misses 2 games, Sirianni 0-2. Wow. That's a great, I hadn't thought of that. You're right. So think about this on what Tone just said. When Sirianni was the play caller, Hurts was 2-5. When Hurts left the field, Sirianni was 0-2. Not a real good record to hang your hat on if Jalen Hurts is not on the field. So how do you know if Sirianni's a good coach or not? That's always been my point. You don't know that. You have no clue. Most of the time, this shit comes down to coaching and personnel decisions. Hey, and by the way, Minshew just won a game last week with Shane Steichen. Wasn't bad. What was it, 17-21, 171 and a touchdown? He wasn't poor. They won a football game. If you include 2001, Sirianni's 1-3 with Hurts off the field. So when you start talking to me about your coach in Philadelphia, I am so not sold on him yet. I am so not sold. I don't know how he coaches in adverse. See, it's great to be a front runner. And that's what, hey, you're right. By the way, I agree with you. Dude, Matt LaFleur, 39-10, 800 win percentage. Shit, dude. That's a lot of winning. 3 straight years of 13-3. Dude, that's a lot of winning. Rodgers leaves the room? I don't know. LJ goes, Sills is so mad you're 2-0. Bucks are 2-0. I mean, would you consider the Buccaneers a great team? They're 2-0. The Commanders are 2-0. Would you consider them a good team? You're not playing good football right now, and you know it. You're 31st in pass defense. You're giving up 400 yards a game in offense. So before you start barking about how good you are, okay? Before you start barking how good you are, I'd sit there and take a look and remember what we said. Tone and I both said this months ago. hey, this thing's going to take some time. Pat's better D than all 4 of the Super Bowls, not all Tom Brady and TB12. First 2 Super Bowls, I thought were defensive gems by Belichick and special teams, actually. Okay? Special teams. Not playing good football at 2-0. Yeah. You think the Commanders look great? Buccaneers look great? You played Mac Jones and Kirk Cousins and had a last possession drive against you. You had a 20-point lead and a 16-point lead and surrendered it. You think you're playing good ball? You think your quarterback's playing well? How about this? It's regressed. I want to hit on that here in a minute about the passing offense regressing. Again, it's early. I get it. Totally get it. But he didn't lose anybody really except Miles Sanders. But let me ask you something here. Before we get into the topics, okay? Dick Vermeer was on WIP today, and he was talking about Jalen Carter. And he was talking about Jalen Carter, and he compared him to Reggie White. And I was kind of taken by that comment. Eric Bieniemy's cooking over there in Washington, Death Row says. Dick Vermeer compared Jalen Carter to Reggie White. How many people favored that comparison? To Reggie White. Comparing Jalen Carter. I'm not saying he's not wrong. Okay? JoJo thinks he's Reggie White. Reggie White's first 4 years, he had 70 sacks. You see that coming out of him? You think Jalen Carter gets 70 sacks in 4 years? Do you really? Do you really see 70 sacks in 4 years? That's his first 4 years, Reggie White's. 70 in 4 years. Do you understand that Brandon Graham has played over a decade and has 50? Quan, I didn't make the comparison. Vermeil did. He might not be that off, though, and I'm going to tell you why here. Remember something here. When Reggie White got into the NFL, he was 24. Okay? He had played the 84 and 85 season with the Birmingham Stallions of the USFL. And in his first year, he had 12 sacks. The second year, he had 11 and a half. When Reggie got into the NFL, he was 24, not 21. That's a huge difference in maturity, playing against pro guys. And remember something about that USFL. Many of those guys that played in that league, especially in the O&D lines, okay, especially in the O&D lines, went on to play in the NFL. So Reggie was kind of conditioned to play in the NFL when he got into the NFL by the USFL. I mean, he was playing against Jim Kelly. He was playing against Ken Hall, who played forever up in Buffalo. Shit, man, that Philadelphia Stars team, Irv Eatman, very good, Chuck. Shit, man, Irv Eatman was a star with the Philadelphia Stars. He was a great O-lineman. There were a ton of good players to get yourself ready once you came into the NFL. So when Vermeil is saying, this kid looks like Reggie White, He's probably looking at the 84 Reggie White with the Birmingham Stallions. Had 12 sacks. That's more realistic. When Reggie came in at 24, his first 4 years were the best 4 years by a defensive lineman, pass rushing wise, I have ever seen in my lifetime. Okay? 70 sacks in 4 years. He's not going to go near that. However, maybe by the time he's 28, he'll have 70. Like, could he be Aaron Donald? You know, at first I was like this when I heard that. 70 sacks over his career, 70. Okay, 70 sacks. So get this. How many years has Brandon Graham played, Tone? He's got 70 sacks. How many years has Brandon Graham played? I first thought that this comparison by Vermeil was over the top. But then I started dissecting a little bit because, hey, by the way, I think he's a very gifted defensive lineman, and he could be better than Jerome. And I've been saying that since draft day, that he could be better than Jerome Brown. Okay? He could be. It's taken Brandon Graham 14 years to get 70 sacks. It took Reggie 4. That's a pretty tall order. And you got an extra game now. Okay? And you have an extra game. But Reggie was primed and prepped by really playing in a second league before he got to the NFL. Sills, when are you going to say you're not sold on Carter? Carson, I said that he was the best player in the draft on draft day. I've never said he wasn't. BG and Carter are two different people. Anyway, so when Vermeil was making those comparisons to him and Reggie, and what I would think what Dick was saying was the impact of the type of player. See, to me, I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna come off absolute. When are you gonna apologize to Davis? At the end of the year, Batman. We'll see how the Eagles play towards the end of the year and if he can maintain this. Because he got out to a great start last year and turned into a turd. We'll see if that happens again. I think that he has more physical attributes than Aaron Donald. Jalen Carter. Now, why do I say that? Aaron Donald doesn't play the run. Jalen Carter plays the run. He's a more versatile defensive tackle than Aaron Donald. At least in my opinion, skill set wise. Aaron Donald's one-dimensional. He's a pass rusher. He does not play the run. He's never played the run. Again, that's the NFL of today, though. Not playing the run. I like that. 215, he is, that's kind of the better comparison, is Sapp. Okay? Is Sapp. Okay? Is probably Sapp. All right? Is probably Sapp. Because Sapp was a multi-dimensional player. He played the run. They were on those great Buck teams in the early 2000s. And Warren played the run and got you 17 sacks. Donald doesn't do this. I think Aaron, and plus, here's the other thing. Physical stature-wise, Aaron Donald's 6 feet tall. This guy's 6'4" and a half, 325 pounds. I mean, his presence alone, he's bigger in the middle. This guy has the chance to be like that guy in New York with the Jets, Quentin Williams, like that. Quentin Williams, in my opinion, him and Chris Jones, got to throw Donald still in there, are the preeminent defensive tackles in the sport right now. The guy in Washington, too, probably. You could probably put that in there. Guy in Washington, too. Okay? Chris Jones is probably right now the number one guy next to Quentin Williams and Donald. As much as I hate to put Donald in the top 3, because I don't think he is a complete DT. I like defensive tackles that are complete, not one-dimensional. And I get today in the NFL, man, it's all about pass rushing and getting pressure. It's not so much about stopping the run. The guy in Tampa's pretty good. Vita Vea is pretty damn good. That guy's a horse. And Jason Kelce has struggled this year so far. He was better in the Viking game, but he was terrible in the New England game. Already your quarterback has had 7 sacks. That number's so high compared to last year. He's getting hit more. He's totally getting hit more. So at first, again, when I heard Vermeil on IP today and I heard him saying, this guy reminds me of Reggie, I went, this guy's high. This is old man talking. Then he started thinking about it. And I looked at the numbers right away. And then I realized Reggie was 24 when he came into the NFL. In his first year, I think he had those 13 sacks. And I went, well, wait a minute, he's 24. This kid's 21, I think. Shit, he may be 20. I mean, Jalen Carter may be 20. I don't know. I think he's 21. This guy's got a lot more growth. When Reggie came in, there has been no guy in pro football. I like that too. Jeffrey Simmons, man. Okay? Jeffrey Simmons is a heck of a ball player too. Carter, outstanding ball player. Carter has 11 pressures, third most in the NFL, coming off the bench with suspect secondary, according to you. It is a suspect secondary, Prince. You're 31st in pass. Look at what Prince just says. According to you, a suspect secondary, and you're 31st versus Mac Jones. Dude, it's not according to me. It's according to your play. It's according to your play. Not me. Actually, the way your secondary is played has nothing to do with me. You're almost last in pass defense versus bums. Or Kirk Cousins, the Hall of Fame of fantasy football for sure. Okay? Oh, now Mac Jones is elite. Okay. Well, wait till you get a hold of the good ones you're going to be. You haven't played a good quarterback yet. And you got to, hey, what you have played, though, is 2 D coordinators that have figured you out already. Now you get another one that's going to figure you out. Even more so. He's got more intel. Todd Bowles. Why do you think that number's climbed down from 7 to 5? Because they don't believe in your defense. I do think that offense is going to turn around here in a second. I do. It better, or you'll start losing games. I still think you're going to win only 11 ball games this year. We'll see. You're 2-0, just like the 2-0 Bucs. Personally, I'm more impressed with what the Bucs have done than you. I thought the Bucs would be 0-2. They got a wide receiver averaging 120 yards a game. You got the same wide receiver averaging 20 yards a catch. You got a quarterback that's throwing 70% completion percentage and 2-0. Actually, Baker Mayfield's outplayed Hurts. I don't know. More passing yards per game. Team looks good. Defense is only surrendering 17 points, unlike you. You're scoring more points? Absolutely. But so far, Baker actually is making Cleveland look stupid. So let's move into this now. Okay? Hey, by the way, Tone, at 4:30 Eastern, we're going to have Barrett Brooks. At 5:30 Eastern, Philly 500. So we'll get those two guys on. Tone, in the timeout, I'll send you over all of B. Brooks's, unless you have it, Tone, Barrett Brooks's information. Okay, great. Okay, so 4:30 Eastern, Barrett's going to join us from NBC Sports Philadelphia. That'll be at 4:30, and then Philly 500 will join us at 5 o'clock or 5:30 Eastern. That'll be in hour number 3. All right. Let's do this here. So Dallas Goedert was also on WIP today, and he's very disappointed in his role in the passing game. That makes the second Philadelphia Eagle disappointed in his role in the Eagle passing game. This next game, they're going to force the ball to AJ because they don't want him crying. Funny you should say that. So you had a player moaning on the sidelines in A.J. Brown, and now you got a player moaning on the air over the Philadelphia airwaves saying that I'm very disappointed in my role in the passing offense. So you got two guys in your passing game that are publicly disappointed in the passing game right now. Am I wrong? I listened to the interview. He didn't want to single Jalen out or Brian Johnson, the OC. So what he did was he used himself. Who's the other? A.J. Brown. The argument on the sideline. I'm open. Who's bitching? I just told you. Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown. That's not an opinion. We saw it and heard it. This is not an opinion. Goddard went on the air today, and Philly's saying, I'm disappointed in my role in this offense. AJ was on the sideline bitching about being open and not getting the ball to him. What else do you need to know? I can guarantee you that conversation on the sideline wasn't about what they were going to eat for dinner, and there was a contradiction in who was going to pick up the tab. Dallas Goedert quote, my part in this pass game hasn't been as big as I want it to be yet, but I believe it will come. Okay? He believes it will come. Many of you do too. But the run game, that just gives me an opportunity to go out there and kind of impose my will on people. The back end of that comment, in my opinion, is nothing. The front end of that comment is the context of the comment. My part in the passing game hasn't been as big as I wanted it to be yet. The rest of that is for the media to dissect it and soften the blow. Okay? The other part of that is so you don't put a direct bullseye on Hurts and Brian Johnson and Sirianni. The front end of a comment is what you look at because that's the context of a comment. It's called a topic sentence. The rest of it's filler. My part in the passing game hasn't been as big as I want it to be yet. That's the quote. That's the exact quote. The rest of it, dissect it any way you will. Doing this too long to know what a bullshit back end is to make sure you soften it so you don't target your quarterback. That's the difference between me and many people. I'm behind the mic and Ben in front of the mic. Okay? So, and you had a wide receiver on the sidelines bitching at your quarterback. That's not bitching. You're trying to spin it. You're the media now. So wait a minute. You didn't see a wide receiver bitching at Hurts. And you couldn't read that quote and know exactly what he was saying. Wow. Because you want to hear what you want to hear. Well, let's get into it. 2 games in. Agreed. 2 games in. Why has the passing game regressed? Shit, the Cowboys got a brand new coordinator. They look great. Rhythm, timing. The offense looks like it. I mean, Pollard is a factor. I mean, the whole thing looks great. Tell you what, it's been an upgrade for the Cowboys having Mike McCarthy as a play caller over Kellen Moore. Chargers are 0-2. That's because Brian Johnson and Nick don't know how to read defenses from the sideline and make adjustments. That's quarterback's responsibility, isn't it? JoJo goes, we look great at 2-0. So do the Bucs. Let me, one more time, why has the passing game regressed where you got players wondering what their roles are in the passing game? Oh, and he's right. He gets to inflict his will in the run game because that's who you are. You're not a, that's right. You got two players questioning their role in the passing game. What's happened? Pretty much the same personnel. What's happened? Missing Isaac Seumalo? Could be. 7 sacks. Quite frankly, I really don't think the offensive line is pass protected very well. They don't look very good. Run blocking, they're spectacular. Pass probe, they're not. It's been okay. Dak has 23 yards more than Hurts over 2 games. How is that? Wheels, why do you have 2 offensive players complaining about their passing roles? One guy did it publicly on the sidelines in a game, and the other guy is not happy with his role in the passing game now, but he's, what was it? Let me go over here. He's thrilled to death that he can go into the run game and inflict his will, giving me more. I'm talking about your passing game. You still have 2 guys complaining about their roles. What's changed? Can it really be Brian Johnson? Is it all Brian Johnson? Let me say this to you. Who do you blame more in this? For you having personnel guys complaining about their roles. By the way, you could dissect anything you want. All you have to do is hear the guy talking and see the guy complaining. You don't need a UN translator. What's changed? Anyone? OC. OC's bad. So it's all on Brian Johnson. I thought it was the same offense. So it's Brian Johnson's responsibility. Well, that's funny. That's Howie's. So Howie hired the wrong coach. Is that what you're saying? Or is it Nick? Some of you think it's Nick. So Howie hired the wrong coach. Is that right? Last year, he hired all the right coaches. Both those guys got head coaching jobs. So this year, with better personnel, he hired the wrong guy. Is that right? See, actually, I'll tell you this. I actually think Sean Desai, with all the broken pieces that they have on defense, I actually think he's doing an okay job over there. I actually do. Even with the pass defense being where it is, he's got a lot of injuries he's dealing with. Even Reddick's injury is a factor. I think Desai, and I believe that they're winning ball games with 2 reasons. I think they're winning it with their run defense and their run game. That they're not playing very well in their pass game and in their pass defense. They're winning it because of their run defense and also their run offense. And until those other components come around and they can figure it out throwing the ball, we said they could not afford having 3 and outs. And that's the reason why you're seeing the 31st ranked pass defense, because the offense is fluttering and it's stuttering out of the gate. And we said that couldn't happen. And then when you start sustaining injuries, that is going to be a disaster. You're 2-0. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're 2-0 because you have the better personnel versus these two teams you've played. If you play a better quarterback or you play one of these elite guys, look at what Brian Flores had. He had a shit defense. It's one of the worst defensive groups in the entire league. That Viking team's not making the playoffs, and nor is that Patriot team. Those teams ain't making the playoffs. We're not going back to the Super Bowl, and I'm okay with it. You shouldn't be, Turner, because the NFC's not that good. The top teams got, to me, I think the 49ers got better, and I think the Cowboys got better. Now, the Brandon Ayuk injury could be an issue because I think he's been their best wide receiver in San Francisco. Okay? I do. I think he's better than Deebo Samuel. Christian McCaffrey, and I would say Tony Pollard in Dallas have been spectacular. They've been spectacular. So you're blaming the offensive coordinator. Okay, what's the offensive coordinator doing wrong in your eyes that has changed this offense around? I'm trying to get a sense on where you guys are thinking on why the offensive coordinator is not the right fit so far. Because quite frankly, get this. You lost. Is Miles Sanders more of an issue than we thought? Why did you deactivate or not deactivate, not use DeAndre Swift in game 1? Turns around and gets 173 yards in game 2, and you didn't play him in game 1. Now, is that a coaching decision? Was that a game plan decision? And by the way, what's Rashad Penny doing on the roster? What's he doing on the roster? I mean, is he part of the 53-man roster? Why do you have him on the roster? He's been a non-factor. I mean, what are you just trying to like save him until the playoffs? Okay, I guess. I don't know. What has changed so far out of the gate? I'll tell you what, I thought Jalen was great in that Detroit game. I thought he was great in the Washington game. I think Washington was the second game last year. Am I right? What's changed? What's different? Well, you got two guys, however you want to look at it, that are not happy with their roles in the offense. Brown and Goddard. Anyone? So you're just going to blame the OC. $250 million is not affecting that guy. It is not affecting Jalen Hurts. The money is the least thing. It's the Z. If there's a list from A to Z, the money's Z. The money is Z in my eyes. Okay? That's not a kid that's going to be swayed or changed by money. Okay? He's not chasing money. Comes with the rewards of success. But I don't look at him as a guy that's chasing that. I look at a guy like that that's part of the rewards for hard work. And like I said, there's a list A to Z, that's Z. Nowhere near the top. $250 million. Okay? People on here said the Vikings have a great passing defense. It's ridiculous. Their whole defense blows. Barb, it's terrible. That defense, there's nothing on that defense. Zero. Vikings have one of the worst groups on the planet. But they have a good coordinator in Brian Flores. That's coaching. Remember I told you, NFL is coaching. You have to have better coaches because when you don't hit on players and you pay them, you got to play them anyway. That's why when you see in the NFL, some guys that you go like this, why is he on the roster? Why is he playing? You got to pay him. And if you're paying him, you got to coach him. That's part of the mistake. That's why the thing I said, and I opened the show with Watson, you traded draft choices away, and you got a ton of money, $230 million guaranteed, all wrapped up in that guy. That could be the biggest disaster in the history of the National Football League if that doesn't start looking better. Elite goes, Burrow's 0-2. He has sucked too. Yeah. Dude, you're under some impression here. I'm not an equal offender. I'm an equal offender. Okay? I thought Josh Allen was spectacular this past weekend against the Raiders. Couple drops, couple misses, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. They reeled him in. There was no real plus 25. Absolutely. He was great in that Raider game. Justin Herbert, 0-2. He sucked too. Oh, and Kellen Moore was the OC for Dak last year. Huh, interesting. Remember what I told you yesterday about coordinators? Can I tell you what Brian Johnson's biggest problem is? Brian Johnson's not looking to win games. He's looking to put points and numbers up, passing yards. 99% of the coordinators, this is what their job is, to score points and to put up as many yards as they can. Mike McCarthy taking over is trying to win a game. Shane Steichen is trying to win a game. Some coordinators want to put a lot of yards up. Some coordinators want to put a lot of points up because that's their role. Some coordinators get it, and those are the ones that go on to be good head coaches. That's why Mike McCarthy and Andy Reid, punting is okay. Playing in your special teams is okay. How many times do you see teams that put up a shit? Like having Kellen Moore in Los Angeles is a downgrade. He wants to put as many points up as he can. He wants to put as many yards as he can, but they're empty calories. You're not winning games. You're not helping your team. Run the frickin' ball. You got a lead and you're up by 10. Stop throwing the ball plus 25. Run it. If the other team comes back on you, then you open it up more. But some of these guys can't manage a game. Brian Johnson's struggling managing a game right now. That's how I look at him. Let me ask you this. Since the passing game is taking some time to develop right now, what's your course of action to slowly open up the offense? Do you lean more on your running game with the running backs? Last year when they got out of the gate, and it's a good question Tone asked. Last year when they got out of the gate because they were running the shit out of the ball. They slowed the game down. They simplified it. Hurts had 7 games last year where he threw under 180 yards, and they won 6 of those games. Eagles win in the trenches and impose their will. Correct. That's who they are. That's their identity. They're fighting that identity. They're fighting the identity. I mean, they're trying to throw all the – and by the way, you know, I'd like to see a little more screen game going on here too. Tom Brady made a living for 20 years doing that. Dude, I think you got to simplify your passing game. I think you've got to target what you did a year ago. You target one guy, then you run the ball. That was their identity a year ago. They're trying to spread it out. That's why you got multiple guys complaining. Because you know why? Every guy knew last year their time was coming. And everybody shared that role. Well, now you have multiple guys complaining about their roles in the passing game. Dallas Goedert's trying to be a good teammate, and he is being a good teammate, but he's saying, hey, the passing game, I'm not happy with my role in it. I love the fact that I get to impose my will in the run game, but his first his first thought was he's not happy with his role in the passing game. You can't dissect it any other way. And then you got a guy on the sideline complaining about it because they're seeing different things this year and the approach is different. That shows you too. When you can have the same, I told you this, you can have the same freaking playbook in front of you. But if you have two fundamentally different people in how they see the game, it won't matter. It'll look completely different. One thing I will say, a promising sign from Johnson was seeing him dig his heels in with the running game versus Minnesota. He could be learning. Is that a fair observation? Or they surrendered. And it does take a coach. Our passing games is not where it needs to be. That's why you saw Lane Johnson going like this. Let's go. Lane Johnson said, let's run the ball. They can't stop us. There's nothing wrong with that. Does it really matter how you knock a guy out? Whether it's a lucky punch or you hit him in the 5th or 6th, or if you knock a guy out in a heavyweight championship fight in the 1st round or the 10th round or the 12th round, does it matter? You're trying to George Foreman has the greatest football mentality of all time. George used to say this, I'm not trying to win rounds. I'm trying to win the fight. Hurts has looked like Justin Fields. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not remotely close. Justin Fields is bombing in Chicago. Okay? Bombing in Chicago. Now, I think it's organizationally, and I think, quite frankly, as I said, with him coming out, I saw him struggle against Indiana when he was at Ohio State. I never saw it. Now, if you're looking for a 4x100 team relay guy, he's perfect. If you're looking for an NFL quarterback, Tyrod Taylor's better. Teddy Bridgewater's better. They are better. Both of those guys have been to Pro Bowls. Justin Fields is not a Pro Bowler. Okay? And you know what? When you guys, listen, the dumbest thing that you people bring up is a record. Nobody gives a shit about the record. They care about getting to the postseason. They care about getting to the conference title game. They care about winning a Super Bowl. So when the Patriots were undefeated and playing the 10-6 Giants, do you think the Giants talk like you idiots that care about the record? You're 19-1 over the last 20 games. And congratulations. You got a participation medal. Good deal. No one cares. You're talking to be 19-1 and you got a participation medal? Who cares? As far as I'm concerned, you're like the Niners. You just went one game further. What's the difference between you and the Niners? Oh, we went to the Super Bowl and lost. Okay? Congratulations. You went one game further and took it on the chin. I don't know what else to say to you. In the NFL, it's not about wins. It's about winning the game and being the team that wins the last game of the season. It's nothing else. 38-35, silver medal. Absolutely. Gives a shit about the silver medal. Okay? The path to get there is important. So let me ask you this, JM. So when the Patriots were in the division in the Brady era, and the Bills blew, the Jets blew, and the Dolphins blew, and they knew that they were most likely going to sweep the AFC East, you think they looked at their journey and was really a tough journey for them to get to the postseason in those 20 years. The majority of the 20 years that Brady had in New England was when the division was at its worst, maybe in NFL history. You ever put that into context? So Brady knew they were getting to the playoffs. They knew they were getting there. Brady's not gauged on winning AFC East titles. The path taken is overrated. You beat who's in front of you. I mean, that type of talk is for the national media. Dude, this is about winning championships. Absolutely. This is all about championships. We're talking about it. We're talking about an organ. Hey, you know what kills me about you guys? You guys think that this is shit talking. I say this is tough love about who you are right now. And the quicker you find out who you are, the better off you'll be. If you keep denying who you are, you're not going to win shit. Once you know your problems and you can fix them immediately, that's how you become a better team. Not sitting around talking about telling me how great Hurts in the passing game is and how great your pass defense is. You'd be difficult. Some of you in here would be difficult to coach. Because the coach is going to come to you and go, you think Jeff Stoutland's happy with the way that the Eagles are pass protecting to start the season? Or do you think he's doing what you guys are doing? Oh, we have the best old. Hey, you guys are the best in the NFL. Don't worry about it. We're 2-0. Or do you think this? 7 sacks. He's getting hit more. He needs more time. Lane, that was a missed assignment. Mulatto, week 1, you were horrible in the pass game. Week 2, better. Landon, you played really well in the Viking game. You sucked in the Patriot game. Hey, Jason, you look like an old man in game 1. Game 2, good. And I would say this to Cam, pick it up, son. Pick it up. Or there's going to be a new name on the depth chart. That's how coaches talk to you. Not with this bullshit here. Well, you know, we're 2-0. We got it really good. Nobody talks like that in the NFL. Nobody talks like that. You think the Eagles give a shit they're 2-0 right now as players? Do you know how many times during a season when things are going well, you don't even know what your record is? Do you know when you're preparing for an upcoming team, I'll guarantee you half that room in NovaCare Center has no idea the Bucs are 2-0. They have no idea. The record's the least thing you care about. Because you got a job in front of you, blocking Vita Vea. You think Jason Kelce gives a shit about the Bucs being 2-0 when he's got Vita Vea on his nose? How dumb can you guys be sometimes? No one gives a shit about your record. Maybe that's why the difference between me and you. Because nobody cares. Nobody cares what your record is. Only the fans do. But when you're a player, Jason Kelce's doing this. This guy takes up a ton of room. Hey, they're 2-0. I got to worry about this guy's hands and his feet. Because this guy is a mother you-know-what. Hey, dude, he's an elite player. And I'll tell you, their linebacking core is some of the best in the NFL. Devin White, Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett's on a mission, too. Lost his child in the offseason in a drowning situation. Tell you what, man, he's playing in honor of his daughter, and he is a possessed dude right now. I mean, Todd Bowles is like, that's a different guy, man. He is not very happy with anything. He's playing in honor of his kid, and I'm telling you something. That guy, I know people down there, man, they're saying this dude's a frightening guy right now. And he's playing like his hair's on fire. Just saying, man. That Devin White is a run-stopping bitch. And then you got a nose. If Jason Kelsey can't handle Vita Vea in this game and they stop the run, it's going to be up to Hurts' arm. Who's covering Mike Evans? Slay? Well, Slay last week gave up 150 yards to Jefferson. Jefferson's big problem, fumble. No one remembers the 150 and the 10 catches or 11 catches. Shit, the other guys, TJ Hawkinson had 70. You don't have a guy on that team that could cover any of them dudes. Now, Bradbury, getting him back I'll tell you another thing that Sean Desai did that I thought was brilliant. Remember when they were practicing him in the slot during the camp? And they put him in the slot during the camp? Well, guess what? It's played out where they may need him there. Relax, Sills. We just signed Mike Hawk from Pitt. Who? Can they handle Jalen Carter? Is Ryan Jensen, is he on the IR? Is he playing? He's a pretty good center. He'll be the best center they've played because Jalen played two backup centers in New England and also in Minnesota. By the way, one more time, I'll say this again to you, that when you are, and with the advantage, when you're playing against a second-team guy, that's not on you. Those two guys have done their jobs. The interior lines of those two teams, they dominated. They should. And they're doing their job. You're patting people on the back for doing their job. Jalen Carter gets the pats because he's a rookie. Okay? Jensen's done? Okay. Well, then those two guys should dominate the middle. Absolutely. They should dominate the middle. Barrett Brooks will join us at 4:30 Eastern time. Then Philly 500. I can't wait to get his thoughts on the O-line. Another thing Desai did in week 2 versus the Vikings was relieving the linebackers from having to cover tight ends and put the responsibility on the safeties. That was smart. I saw that too. It lessened the potential damage of Hawkinson getting beat over the top. Correct. I believe Desai truly understands his personnel more than Gannon. I told you, I don't really have a problem with Sean Desai. I really don't. I think he's making it work. And the numbers are terrible pass defense, but I told you that we all told you that was going to be that way. We told you that was going to come up like that. This thing will look better after week 8. Give it a little time here, man. Can the Buccaneers beat the Eagles on Monday night? We're going to hit on that. Hey, football. We love the fact that the National Football Show has an official home. That is Hooters, Northeast Hooters. Go to northeasthooters.com to find one of the 7 locations nearest you. We're going to be in town real soon in a couple days, and I invite everybody to come over to the King of Prussia one where we're going to have them. We're going to be doing a great remote there. We're going to be doing an appearance there. We're going to be doing it pretty much each and every single month, man. Do me a favor. Please go to northeasthooters.com to find one of the 7 locations in the entire Northeast area. If you don't want to go into any of the locations, go to hooterstogo.com. You get their great grub, man. Tuesdays, buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. Wing Wednesdays, $19.83. All you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturdays. $6, 6 items. Tried the fried pickles. You'll love them. northeasthooters.com. And when you roll into any one of the Hooters, do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Appreciate you coming aboard. I don't know what Jason Whitlock's problem is with Deion Sanders. I mean, he's turning it into a racial story. Sports is not race in a locker room. Nobody cares in a locker room about your skin color. Nobody. Why is he doing that? He's fueling conservatives to hate Deion because Deion's loud. You know what's funny? You know why I get offended by this? Because we were doing all this stuff back in the 80s. The only difference is, hey, by the way, Randy Shannon wasn't the first black coach at the University of Miami. The first black coach at the University of Miami was Jimmy Johnson. Okay? Don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. And we were doing all this stuff back in the day. We had loud, proud African-American kids on our team that put bullseyes on the entire program. We were in lily white Coral Gables with a private institution. Nobody liked us. That's why we're the most hated team in American sports history. You all hated us. You wrote things about us that today, writers would be fired for being racist. It was some of the most racist coverage of all time. Most racist coverage on our teams. Miami, here's Rick Riley. Here's a quote from Rick Riley. You ready for this? Miami's the only football team in the country that has to take their profile picture for the media guide from the front and side. People laughed at that back then. Really? With 80% of my roster with African Americans, you think that's cool? Convicts and Catholics. Really? You think you could really do that today? You think you could say those things? Convicts versus the Catholics? We're convicts? Why? Because we have a lot of black players on our team? Notre Dame has black players. It was some of the most racist coverage I've ever seen, and it was offensive. Do you know when Miami went to the Cotton Bowl You know what you did to Southern black kids who got to Dallas, Texas, and they didn't do this for the Texas Longhorn guys. Tone will get into, he'll understand it a little bit more with that state. Do you know what they put in their like gift bags? A bale of cotton to a black Southern guy. I was like, okay. Got to have more self-awareness. I'm rooting for Deion. LJ Go Sills, you call black players monkeys, probably why you live that race. Thank you very much, Shooter. Just wasted 2 seconds of my life on LJ. That'll be the last. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that, Shooter. So when I hear guys like Jason Whitlock saying this guy is a fraud, I've known Deion Sanders since he was 17 years old. I've known him since he was 17. And he's been that way his entire time. Completely been that way his entire time. I love the guy. I really do. I admire. You know, he's changing the game of recruiting. He's using social media. Dude, his whole thing is hip. It's a hip place to go and play. Okay? It's a hip place to play. That guy is exactly, get this. When you go and interview, look at Auburn. Auburn right now is unranked. Deion's got his Colorado Buffalo team ranked. I believe they're going to get boat raced these next 2 weeks. And being 3-2, I still think it's a tremendous story at Colorado. Okay? Didn't Sill say Colorado was a 3-win team? Yeah, because I listen to Vegas. Yeah. Yeah. I like how everybody assumes that it's just me saying this. Are you under the impression I was the only human being on the planet that said this? I think it's remarkable what he's doing. And if you're not surprised, you see, I'm going to tell you what's happened here real quick as Barrett Brooks is going to join us at 4:30. Can I tell you what's happened here with Deion Sanders? Everybody thought this was going to be one of those gimmick hires. This was going to last about 2 years, get some money out of it, fire his ass when he gets like to be a 4-win season, you know, with the same losers he had there last year. What's happened is they realize he's a good coach. And he's a good coach. All of a sudden now, the establishment of coaches is going like this. Holy shit, he is a threat. Deion's a threat to the way of doing things. Anytime you get anybody in any kind of political office or anything in sports or in business that you become a threat, they're afraid of you and they undermine you every single chance they can do it. Every single chance. People are now trying to undermine them. So that's the way you do things. Well, maybe not the way you do shit. I like people who think out of the box. He's done it. You see, Deion Sanders ain't no Rooney Rule. Because when you bring that guy in now, that's your top candidate. And maybe when you bring some other African-American guys in the NFL on interviews, they won't be window dressing guys. Yeah, we interviewed a black guy. We really wanted to get Brandon Staley. Who? This guy's a threat. I love it. I so love it. Wonderful, man. As Muhammad Ali said, I'll show you how great I am. Yeah, something else, Death Row. You know one of the great lines Muhammad Ali said? You must be upset, and I know you're upset, and I know everyone's upset with me. I must be doing it right. You know what's funny? People like Jason Whitlock would hate Ali today. He would hate Ali. And so would the majority of the white media hate Muhammad Ali. The only reason you revere Ali today is because you know the end story and the impact he made. But you would hate Muhammad Ali today. Not all of you. I'm not. Half the country would hate Ali instead of how revered he is. You would. Jason Whitlock would hate Muhammad Ali because of how he does things. Matthew goes, people hate primetime because he's real and tells it like it is. Just like the peeps in here hate on Dan because he speaks facts. Okay? Thank you, man. That's really cool, Matthew. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Would that include you, sir? Absolutely not. Ever since I was a little boy, Muhammad Ali, I got a beautiful signed book by him and Angelo Dundee when I was at the University of Miami, and he came and saw us all the time. Seeing my idol, my childhood idol, was one of the greatest things in the world when I got to Miami. Angelo Dundee had a boxing gym down in South Florida, and I used to go over to the Miami Convention Center where he fought Liston, and I'd go down and watch Ali train there. And when he was helping train some up-and-coming fighters, he and Angie would hang out. And then Angelo Dundee, I'll show you to you when I get to a break, his signed signature that he gave me on a book that Angelo's daughter had made. Yeah. Cool, man. Ali's been hey, I played with 85 Muhammad Ali's. That's who we were. We patterned ourselves after him. Put a giant target on us. Come get us. You know the girl, LSU? Remember, Tone? What's her name? The girl at LSU that was talking shit to the chick from Iowa? People were like, I mean, the guy up at Barstool was telling her, show some. I was like, I actually love that. I actually love that. Angel Reese, I'm a huge fan of hers. By the way, I can't wait to watch that Iowa LSU game. I'm looking forward to watching that game. Okay? I love Angel Reese. Can the Buccaneers beat the Eagles? Okay? Can they beat them on Monday night? You think they can beat them? Robert says no. Maxon, yes, possibly. I actually, believe it or not, as much of a fence-straddling answer that is, Sills, you think Nick Chubb done for good? God, I pray not, LJ. I pray not. Nah, John, impossible. That one I hate. Anyone can be beat, Twiz. Yes, any team can beat real good guys. Mayfield has weapons, but D-line is too much. Well, their D-line's pretty good too. Okay? No freaking way. Scott says Vegas says the Bucs won't win. Funny, that number's gone from 7 to 5. Money's going on the Bucs now. Here's how I think the Bucs can threaten the Eagles. I'm going to use the word threaten because I'm with the majority of you. I don't think the Bucs can beat them, except for this. I really do believe you have problems in your secondary, and it's reflecting even more so because you're not getting a good enough pass rush from your edge rushers. Sweat was better against the Vikings. Sweat's going to be matched on that offensive tackle, that Wirfs kid, who's one of the top OTs in the NFL. So you're going to limit him. That's going to be a stalemate between him. Josh Sweat is not better than the left offensive tackle for the Bucs. He's not. He's one of the top 2 left OTs in the league, if not the best. Oh, well, the guy in San Francisco's best. He's probably second. Okay? He's probably second. And Reddick has been a non-factor so far because of his injury. Nolan Smith is MIA. I don't know what they're doing with him. 2 dudes that have roster spots, have no impact on this team so far this year, has been Nolan Smith and Rashad Penny. I mean, they're 2 active guys, too. It's pretty crazy. Mulata's not second. Mulata was destroyed in that New England game. Destroyed. He was terrible. Mulata second. Okay? And Mike Evans can play. You know, Tone threw up the numbers of Mike Evans. A couple of months ago, I didn't realize that guy's got 9 straight years of 1,000. Is it 9 or 7 straight years of over 1,000 yards? Holy shit. That guy's going to be knocking on the door potentially of being a guy that's going to go to Canton. He's got a Super Bowl 9 years in a row. So let me get this right. Is Mike Evans over 10,000 receiving yards? Mike Evans, what is he, 29? Mike Evans has 10,000 receiving yards? Can't be. Every year. He's got 10,000 receiving yards. And this guy's 29. I mean, dude, he could end up, like, if things continue in his health, he could end up number 2 all time in receiving yards, depending on where he goes and who's throwing him the pill. Mike Evans is going to be a free agent. What if he lands in Kansas City in the offseason? If he lands in Kansas City in the offseason, Mike Evans is perfect for Andy Reid and Mahomes. Man, that dude goes to Kansas City, he'll have 15, 16,000 yards receiving. That's a weapon. Damn. Holy cow. He's got 10,662. Holy shit. Dude, no wonder Johnny Manziel got drafted in the first round. That guy was the reason at A&M. That guy was the reason. And you don't have a guy on your foot. Dude, Darius Slay can't cover him. Chris Godwin, I think he's averaging around 60 yards a catch. That still gets you $1,000. But so you got Evans and him. Bradbury, I'm assuming, is back. And you're 31st against the pass. So you're going to have to get home. Which means you're going to have the best part of your team really play lights out. Hey, by the way, I think because of the play of Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, I think Fletcher's look better. JM, I heard Blankenship is trending according to Nick. He's trending to playing on Monday. That I'm just going by the press conference that Kenneth Gainwell, Reed Blankenship, and Bradbury are all trending on playing on Monday night. So I'm going with what they're saying, not always factual coming out of NovaCare, but I'm assuming that those guys are going to. I mean, how much longer would Bradbury be in the protocol for like a concussion? I thought that thing was 10 days. We're going beyond that number here a little bit. Maybe there's more. I don't know. I mean, I thought he'd be out of that by potentially Thursday. So I'm looking at him getting out of that concussion protocol. That'll help you big time if you're able to get Bradbury back. But I didn't think Bradbury was playing all that hot either back there. Sweat has played well past few games. Actually, he's played well in one game. He was terrible in game 1. Huss, I think you guys are not getting it right. The Patriots O-line and D-line, they dominated the Eagles O-line and D-line. You weren't good in that game on any side of the ball except for your tackles, your DTs. You had no pressure. Mac Jones threw for 340 yards in that game. I mean, you made Mac Jones look like Tom Brady. He was 34 of 54 in that game. 3 touchdowns. You made Mac Jones look like Tom Brady. He had a sack in the Viking game. Yeah. Look, see what Scott says? They shut down the Patriots' run game. Well, the Vikings don't have a run game, and they did shut down the Patriots' run game. You're still giving up 400 yards in total offense. .400 yards in offense you're giving up per game on that defense. Here's the deal. The Bucs got a little bit of balance this past week running the ball, but they can't have a little bit versus the Eagles. They got to get a lot of bit. For them to beat Philly, they got to run the ball for over 100 yards. And do I see that? No. But I could see Baker Mayfield throwing for 350 yards. If Mac Jones can do it, he can do it. If Kirk Cousins could throw for 340 yards, this guy could do it too. He threw for 310 last week. And by the way, the Bucs have a better defense than you all around. It's a better defense. You have better personnel all around. They're deeper. And again, I'll say this one more time. Todd Bowles is a better coach than Sean Desai. But Desai's doing things. Okay? Baker's a bum, and he's outplayed Jalen in the first 2 games. He's 2-0 also. They're passing. They have really no offense. They have no balance. It's been pretty much Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has been their offense. It's the only way they're 2-0 is because of him. You're 2-0 because you run the ball, not because of your passing game. Okay? I don't know. The Eagles' defense has been giving up yards. That is true. But I will say the offense has not done the defense any favors. Yes, too many 3-and-outs. The defense has been opportunistic, created 4 turnovers last game against the Vikings, and has created scoring opportunities for the offense. Completely agree, Tone. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I say, and why I'm continuing to say, I'm all right with Sean Desai. Personally, I'll make this comment to you. I think Sean Desai is doing a better job of defense so far right now than anything I've seen Jonathan Gannon do in his 2 years coaching. Because you know why? There's some leakage going on that defense. And remember what you had with Gannon. Gannon had the luxury of 2 years of shit teams and not very good quarterbacks. Well, the first year they had to play some good quarterbacks, and that's why they weren't very good against the pass, nor the run. Okay, and that's why they were 9-8. Then when they were 9-8, got a wild card schedule, and the 31st worst schedule in the league, he benefited from that, from not having to play really good ball teams last year. I'm saying not the Eagles' fault, but it's fool's gold. Desai you weren't playing Mahomes, Allen, Tua. You weren't playing those guys in consecutive, Dak, all in consecutive weeks. You weren't playing Geno and them dudes. This guy's got quite the task ahead of him. Quite the task. I think he's a better coach. I think he's more creative. And by the way, like I said, him putting Bradbury in the slot and practicing him a couple organized team practices, I think was brilliant. He was hedging his bets potentially on injury. Okay? Absolutely. So and they have created what's been really great, and a great job of coaching has been Tracy Rocker. That's no one in anywhere has been bringing up. I think Tracy Rocker's done a great job. And, the one thing that we did say about Jordan Davis, last year, Jordan Davis was in a completely different role. He was in a role as being a sub. And when you're in a role like that, and you're used to starting each and every single game, and you get into a role and you've got to wait your time, it's different. It's different preparation mentally. Now that you're the starter and you're being told to go out there, let's remember something. Not even the Eagles thought he was a 3-down lineman. He's playing himself in his first 2 games. Jordan has played himself into the graces of what the coaches are. And guess what? Jordan, you know what's crazy? You guys say this. Sills, Jordan Davis will never be a pass rusher. The Eagles said that. They never looked at him as being a 3-down guy. Now he's played himself into it. Gee, I wonder why that narrative has changed. Because the players made it change. Okay? Can the Bucs beat? The Bucs have the weapons to threaten you. They've got a superior. Hey, if I were the Eagles, the number one thing that I would try to do against Todd Bowles is establish the run game. You got to get that run game going, because everything comes off that Eagle play action and that RPO. It comes off that run game. And if you do not look, even in the Patriot game, what did they try to do immediately? You know why the passing game suffered so much? Not so much, but you know why you had a ton of 3-and-outs after that first series? Because off the script, once you got off script and you started getting those 3-and-outs, okay, then you started putting your defense in a bad situation. Tone says 100% agree. Running game has to be established. Make them respect the prospect of handing off. And what it does is it brings the linebackers closer up to the line of scrimmage. Do you understand what you're trying to do with those Buck linebackers? See, when you don't respect the team's run game, you can cheat. You can cheat. And with Vita Vea playing the way he is, the Bucs, Devin White can back up and cheat in the passing game with Goddard coming across the middle, which means he doesn't have a clear release on up the seam. So he can cheat. You establish that run game, that dude's not going to be off the ball, man. He's going to tighten up because he's got to fill that gap. Can't have false steps, or guess what? You'll get run over. And so what does that mean? You open up the seam coming across the middle and the slant passes. So it's a game. The quarterback establishing that run game, getting that thing going consistently. That to me is going to be the key to this thing here. And that comment that I made to you about some coordinators, they just want to score points and they just want to get yards. Coach Johnson told me that. That's when you know you got a really great one that sees the game. There's coordinate, like whatever you think. So far, it's been a grand slam in Dallas with Mike McCarthy. They got a rhythm. Dak's getting the ball out of his hand quicker because the play's coming in quicker. He knows what he's looking at. I really don't. I mean, people, you could say whatever. I'll tell you this. Sean Payton's struggling with Russell Wilson in play calling, getting the play in. Those penalties that you're getting, those pre-snap penalties drive me nuts. Mike McCarthy's doing a 10 times better job in Dallas and getting that play in on time. There's a rhythm to it. Like I said, before I bring Barrett on here, Jimmy Johnson said there's some coordinators that want to score a lot of points and get a lot of yards up. Those are guys that are not looking to win the game. And that's kind of what the Eagles are doing here. They're trying to establish, they're trying to score. Dude, punt, special teams, play some defense. But when you get 3 and outs, you're killing that defense on the other side that's not ready to roll yet. I told you, week 8, that thing will look a lot better. I could not wait to get my friend, who is clearly one of my wife's favorite people. I tell people this all the time, 10 plus years in the NFL. Barrett Brooks is in the Big Sills Hall of Fame. We bring him in here right now with us, NBC Philadelphia. My brother, how are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Let me ask you something.
All right.
Concerned?
Am I concerned? No. The ultimate job, like you just said, is to win games. And this team is adapting to what they have going on, and I think if you're talking about, all right, is it Jalen Hurts? Is that the reason why things are so slow? Well, this isn't like college football where you have to win on style points. This is the NFL where, a win is a win, a W is a W. And that's their ultimate goal. I mean, you have quarterbacks that go out there, that can throw up big numbers, 300 yards here, 400 yards here, and have over 5,000 yards. But what's their win total? What's their record? Look at Phillip Rivers. He could throw the ball a country mile. He averaged like 5,000 yards his last 4 or 5 seasons in the league. But what was his winning percentage? What was his record? The Eagles are intent on winning, and if it takes them going out there and waiting until let me say this to you, and waiting until this offensive line gets their stuff together, then they'll do that. It's not just Jalen Hurts. It's the offensive line not playing up to their capabilities. Yes, he's holding the ball a little too long because I think he's getting a little gun shy for being, harassed a little bit in that first game. But he'll settle down just like the offensive line has settled down. And, they went and ran the ball. It's not the vogue thing to do, but it's the winning thing to do. That's the most important. Big Sills, if you're out there and you playing 3 technique and they're letting you jump the gap and you're jumping the gap and they're still double teaming you and you can't stop the run and you start doing something else and getting out of character for what you're supposed to be doing in your gap and you're still allowing them to run the ball, that's the worst feeling in the world, isn't it? Because you can't stop them from doing what they're doing. Isn't that the worst?
I'd rather have you throw for 390 yards on me than run for 250 yards on me because, hey, I tell people this all the time, Barrett. You put the white flag up when you're running the ball 200 yards on me because you rarely lose games. How many times have we seen teams throw for 500 yards and lose, but yet when you see a team run for 200 yards,
absolutely,
you ain't losing that ball game.
No. Because number one, you keep that quarterback on the opposing side off the field. Because usually when you run like that, the time of possession is probably like, 40 minutes to 20 minutes. You just overwhelm them and they can't get their guys on the field to score. Now, if you're driving it down and you're not scoring points, I can see you being frustrated about that. But they were driving down, they were scoring, whether it be a field goal, whether they get a touchdown. They were going out there and pushing it to the victory of beating the Vikings.
Let me throw this at you here, and Bear, tell me I'm making more of it. Okay, so in the game again, you and I know, man, bitching at each other on the sidelines. It's a nothing burger. You have AJ and him complaining. Today, I heard Dallas Goedert on WIP say this, and I'm paraphrasing it. He's like, "I'm not happy with my role in the passing game." So now you got 2 people complaining about role in the passing game. It's AJ complaining on the sidelines. You saw it. You heard Goddard today on IP saying, and then he fuzzied it up going, hey, I'm in the run game. I'm dominating this. It was a nice way to make sure you're not throwing shade too much on the OC and the quarterback. But what's different this year, Barrett, than last year? You almost got the same personnel. Sanders, is he that much of a loss? What's different in your eyes on what you're seeing?
I think that, the league had 8 months or 6 months to go in and figure out how to stop Jalen Hurts. But we also understand that Jalen's going to go out and he's going to work his way into something new. You know, he's going to evolve. He's never stayed the same. I think he's one of those guys that it feels if he stays the same, then he's almost dying. He's always going to reinvent himself. He's always going to be a better version of himself every time he steps on the field. And, you know, you'll get that. And everybody's talking about, you know, how they're stopping the read option right now. Yeah, they're stopping the read option. All they're doing is slanting the end and scraping the linebacker outside. But then, you know, same thing can make you laugh, make you cry, because those lead to big plays. Because once you vacate somewhere with scraping that linebacker, and Jordan Mailata or Lane Johnson cuts that end from slanting in, that's a big hole to open up that you're asking a safety to stop. So all those things, you know, all those things that they're doing right now is something that, you know, eventually the Eagles will also counter their counter. Just like now teams are starting to back up and play two high safeties. Well, what do you do when two high safeties? You run the ball.
And run it.
So that's exactly what they did. You line up a two high safety, they ran the ball. Then they turn around on the big play to Smitty at the end of the game, towards the second half. What happened is they had two high safeties. They were playing quarters coverage, and the safety, Smith, got a little nosy and saw that running back because the running back had been running so much on him. Got a little nosy, saw that running back flare out of the outside on the wheel route and didn't get back. And that left that cornerback one-on-one with Smitty on the outside, turned into a big play, a touchdown. Those are all things that happen, and you get big plays from, you know, defenses that blitz a lot and defenses that, you know, play two high safeties a lot. So, you know, eventually the Eagles will start catching up on what defenses are going to do. And then what do you do then? You know what I'm saying? So they're built to play big-time football in November. Run the ball consistently, and they can't stop. You have a big offensive line. Then you got a quarterback and go out there and run. You got these quarterbacks now. Everybody's raving about these top 5 quarterbacks. Look what's going up in LA with the Chargers. Look at their quarterback. Look at Cincinnati's quarterback. These are top 5 quarterbacks. Everybody's saying they're the best quarterbacks in the league. They have nothing else to go through if they can't throw the ball and they're not, you know, executing the offense by them passing the ball. Jalen is different. Jalen can use his legs and run the ball, which will make you get out of what you're doing, and then they'll go out there and throw the ball also. He has that intangible that those two don't have. Does that make him elite? I think it makes him pretty damn close, because you can be elite passer and not win, a la the Chargers in Cincinnati. But if you can also have that extra in being able to run the ball and be able to execute at a high level of run, you can be a guy that can run out there and do those type of things. But if you're not elite as far as your programming on understanding when to run and not to run, it can also be a detriment for you also. But I think he's good enough that he'll get things going in the right direction because of it.
Barrett, I think the other thing that you're seeing coordinators like Brian Flores and what you saw Belichick and this week too, Todd Bowles, is that counter weak side play that they run with Jalen. You know, all of a sudden he'll go through the back door over here, and they're getting as deep as the ball. Last year, they would scrape down the line of scrimmage, and Jalen would get out wide, and he'd get out on the weak side and break that thing open. I think a lot of teams are now countering that play now by keeping that end home.
Yes, you're right.
And not having them, because last year, how many times did we see that guy, as soon as they would run with that RPO this way, Jalen took it, went back door over here, and that end's gone, not setting the edge. I think teams are doing a better job on that because, like you said, they had 7 months to sit there and game plan it.
Yep.
That leads to this question, though. Again, it was an observation, and I saw it again in the Viking game. You tell me. You know, I think they're so concerned about him taking punishment that was it me in that New England game and then a little bit in the Viking game, he's getting down quicker.
Way too quick.
And he's like apprehensive. And to me, that's a coach. I don't think that that's Jalen actually doing it. I think that's a fundamental thinking process where last year he'd run that guy. He wouldn't get a clean hit on him. He'd be fighting for the extra yard. It just seems now he's looking for perseverance and getting through the 17 games. Is it just my observation? Because I think that's what's making that offense look a little tentative.
You're talking about an extra 5 yards that he's not taking.
But mentally too. Mentally,
yes.
like, hey, do I throw it? I mean, the whole thing becomes tentative.
Right. It's almost as though, all right, if I go ahead and pull the trigger on this pass, it might get intercepted. Instead of being a guy that, that's going to, all right, if I keep running, I'm going to get hit, Those are all situational things that have been coached into him that maybe he needs to go back to saying, all right, I can protect myself. I've done a good job of protecting myself. On the plays he got hurt with in Chicago, it was a running play.
Yeah.
So you're not going to really slide when it's a running play. But even in passing plays where he's running and evading the pass rush, he's sliding like 5 feet before he usually does. And I did see that, and I didn't comment on it because, all right, he's trying to make sure this is self-preservation. He's trying to make sure he doesn't get hurt. But that is an aspect of his game that's an intangible that he used to use, and it was so tough to stop him from picking up first downs. Now he's sliding before even the first down. So it's been coached into him. But I think once he evolves and starts playing the way a player plays that went through camp and practice and played during camp, he's not playing like a guy that had those reps in preseason football games. He's playing like a guy that's still in the preseason. And I think this entire offense is. They're not up to par. You're going to see at least one more bad, not really bad because they won the game, but one more rusty game from them.
Or maybe a bad half or a rusty half.
Exactly. So, bro, could you imagine going out there and playing on the first game without having reps and full speed reps?
Absolutely not.
How do you take on a double team and know where the pressure's coming from? I tell people all the time the reason I played in the preseason is because your body learns how to take that one extra step to solidify that block. These guys then take that extra step.
You're practicing your anchoring on double teams. You're practicing your double. Exactly. You're getting your joints and your ankles ready and your
hardening them
ready with
you
all
start
that.
to harden them up. Yes.
Yeah.
That's why all these injuries they have. I mean, how do you have 3 rib injuries? That's because their bodies aren't hardened. You harden your body during camp, during the preseason. That's how your body does. These guys aren't taking that extra step to come out of a route, that extra step for making a tackle and assuring you can get the guy on the ground. Because when I say extra, I mean extra steps. Like really, like when you're double teaming, you get up to the second level, you leaving too early because you didn't get the extra step because during camp all you've done is 1-2 cha-cha-cha, 1-2 cha-cha-cha. You're just hitting a guy. All right, you got me. You blocked me. These guys aren't going to be blocked in these games. They're going to keep going, and you haven't taken that extra step to keep going and finishing the block. That comes with playing, man, and they'll eventually get with it. So you get at least, like you said, a half or a game in which to get it going.
Hey, is it me, Barrett? But is Hurts getting hit more?
Yes, he is. The offensive line. That's what I said. The offensive line got to play better. I mean,
they're great in the run game. They're great in it, but Mailata was terrible in that New England game. Better against the Vikings, obviously.
Yep.
Lane missed an assignment in the New England game, blocked down when he was supposed to block out.
Yep.
I'm like, man, it just seems like the communication with the guys. I mean, I can't think it's Isaac Seumalo not being in there, but again, what's with them? Here's an experienced group. Barrett, is this really what you just talked about? Is just playing with the continuity?
It's playing. They're rusty. They're rusty, and they're just now starting to get that rust off. And playing. And they haven't hit Philadelphia Eagles football yet, and they're still 2-0. There's a lot of 1-1 teams that didn't have that opportunity to still win the game, even though they played bad. And to them, they're playing bad because it's not up to the standards we're used to seeing them at. You know what I'm saying? Are they unjustly, looked upon as saying in a bad game? Yes, they are, because our expectations are up here. They're not down here. You put yourself in the position that we have expectations now. So you're going to get it. You're going to get us talking, about you and saying this and saying that. But, it comes with the territory. You know what I'm saying? Great teams get, they're meticulous in making sure they break down every aspect of your game. You know what I'm saying? They're always trying to find a kink in your armor. And that just comes with being the best. That comes with being on top. You know what I'm saying? And they're rolling with it. They're winning, even though, in spite of, they're still winning.
And you know what's crazy is that you and I know what them coaches are saying in there.
Yep.
Nobody gives a shit about 2-0. Like, Kelsey's going, I got Vita Vea this week. I don't give a crap about anything.
Right.
I got Vita Vea in front of me here. 2 last questions for you.
I got to get up on White. I gotta get up on White. You know what I'm saying?
you know what's funny, Barrett? I told all these folks, I go like this. I go, do you know most of the players in the locker room could have – once you get into the season, you have no idea what the opposing team's record is. You have no idea what your record is.
Nope.
You're just worried about your responsibility and the guy that you got to play on you. And if someone tells you that, that's probably the least caring thing you care about, because you got to put some good game tape out there. 2 last questions for you here. Are you concerned that the pass defense is 31st right now?
Yes, especially with the injuries that are happening right now. I mean, Avonte, people don't understand how key Avonte Maddox is in the whole scheme of things and how they run things. You don't have that good slot corner. Your boys, the Bucks right now got, Godson right now. He's hell out there, bro. So you're gonna have to go one-on-one with the big fella on Evans on the outside. You got guys out there, but who do you put in there? I mean, how do you fill that slot corner position? Because it's one of the hardest positions, because there's not a lot of space, but there's, you got double, you can do inside and outside. On the outside, at least you can use the sideline as an extra defender. You don't have that inside of the slot. And usually they put their best player in that. And then you have to worry about supporting the run. And then you got to worry about motion and all this. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility with that. And at this point, Mario Goodrich is the guy that they're going to use. But do I say him being a guy, that is going to lock that down until, we'll lock down for the rest of the season? I can't. Who do I think they need to go ahead and try a little bit, at least in practice? I think they do Sidney Brown in there. Let him try, his best, or bring Bradbury in and push Josh Jobe out on the outside. He played fairly well out there at that wide corner position. They're going to have to figure something out, man. Or maybe they bring back Gritty Williams. I don't know. But this is a tough situation for them. At least they'll have Blankenship back and Bradbury back, but it's still, I was just looking at it. It's one player that's out, and that's Maddox, but it feels like it's like 3 players that we're trying to take his place.
Because the backers are not helping. They're not helping. They're not helping the safeties right now. And I'll tell you this, Barrett, I think the loss of TJ Edwards is being felt on that defense. And
absolutely is.
You said this 2 years ago, and I remember you're like, man, when they plugged that dude in, that entire defense changed.
It changed on how to do it. Yep.
It's changed.
Yep. I mean, you know how it is, man. To not have a guy back there. Michael, just like I play with Michael Barrow. Your guy. You know what I'm saying? One of the smartest guys at putting guys in position. And because I can remember a lot of times we were playing out there, and they come to the sideline when I was playing with the Giants. And he go, hey, Strahan, I appreciate you telling me this. You know what I'm saying? That's why I gave you a go call, or going out there, hey, banjo. Well, you don't have that type of that communication, and the Eagles don't have it right now because there are so many guys that were out. That communication, man, it's hard to play the game when you're not communicating at a high level. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like those unwrittens. You got to look and see, all right, I can look at you and you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Those things aren't being done right now. So that's why it's a lot of plays that you see, it's almost like they look rusty because of that.
Okay, last year, Barrett, don't kill me on this, but I heard Vermeil say something today, and I know it's going to be blasphemy. He compared Jalen Carter to Reggie White. Now, wait a minute. Hang on. Hold on. Reggie's first 4 years in the NFL, he had 70 sacks, which is insane. Right? I mean, look, like Brandon Graham's been in the league 14 years and he's got 70. I get it, okay? But then I started thinking about it. Well, he was 24 when he got into the league. This kid's 21, and Reggie went to the USFL in 84 and 85. In his first year, you had 12 and then 11 and a half. So he was almost like, and the USFL back then had guys like Ken Hall. They had really good players that went on to play in the NFL. He was almost primed. And he was almost like schooled once he got into the NFL on what to expect. I think he was better prepared to be an NFL player because of playing in the USFL versus playing at Georgia. And I started thinking this, I see it, man. I think he has a chance to be a better defensive tackle than Aaron Donald, and I'll tell you why. Donald doesn't play the run.
Yep.
This guy's a run stopper and a pass rusher and a guy who wreaks havoc. He's more kind of like in the line of Jerome and that kind of guy. I mean, it's crazy because Reggie's the ultimate.
You mean Mr. White? I call him Mr. White. I can't call him Reggie. I call him Mr. White still.
I know you do. Again, you can flip a coin and go, who do you want, LT or Reggie? And I'll go, I'll take whoever you don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll take whoever you don't. But give me your sense of what you're seeing with this kid and how impressed you've been with him.
An unbelievable, I would say athlete, but that is kind of downplaying what he is. He is such a good player as far as understanding how to play the situational football he's being put in. You can't, on the run plays, you can't double team him because he understands where the pressures comes in, and he might lean to that pressure and spin out and go make a play. If you try to one-on-one block him, he's not going to let you do that. He can run behind blocks and still quick enough and explosive enough to go get it. And I'm just talking about the run plays now. Then on passing plays, they ran a blitz and on his first sack. And when they ran the blitz, they brought the mic through the B gap, and he goes and he slants in. And when he hits his gap, they double team him with the center and the guard. But he's so versatile that he makes himself small, hits the center, and then drives him back and puts him in the quarterback's lap, and then goes and gets the sack with the center on his back. That's him understanding leverage and understanding where he needs to go. This kid he's an amazing player. And I understood, I equated him to a John Randall, almost like a Warren Sapp hybrid of a
bigger
player. Yes, what I'm saying, but bigger. Yeah, you add them two together. Yes, he's a big dude too. So we're talking about 313. People understand Sapp was sitting right around about that 290, 280
at
range.
6'2", though. This guy's 6'4", like and a half.
Yeah, I mean, huge. So he can run, he can be explosive, he can rush the passer, he can get down on the run, he can drive you back. I can't think of any weaknesses in his game right now.
Absolutely. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this on the way out the door here. What's your take on what Deion's doing in Colorado?
Unbelievable, man. And he's making a believer out of people. Just because he's doing it the way he's doing it does not make it wrong. He is a guy that
he's scaring the establishment, Barrett.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Usually, coaches are supposed to be these guys, and be looked upon as, I am a pillar of what you're supposed to be in society. Well, he's breaking the norm on what society thinks of a coach. You know what I'm saying? Some guys think of coaches as father figures and, holier than thou. Well, he's holier than thou, but he does it with swag. You know what I'm saying? So I love what he's doing, and his guys play for him. That's all I care about. Your guys play for you. That's all I worry about. They will go out there and fight a brick wall for Deion. And that's all that needs to be said, man. That's all
and what's crazy, Barrett, is that people are like, well, he's made it all about him. I go, well, obviously you've never played competitive sports, because for you to motivate 100 guys to go out there and play their ass off each and every single Saturday for you, coaches who make it about themselves have losing records. Coaches who never fail make it about the players. He's bringing everyone on that. You know what it really reminds me of? It reminds me of my heyday back in the Miami days with FSU in Miami, when all those guys were walking around like that. We just didn't have social media, and everybody looked at our giant targets on us and said all these things. And I'm like, hey, man, this guy's been doing this since he was 17 years old. He's changing the way people look at coaching, man. I mean,
you guys never.
Hey, if you're Auburn right now, Barrett, aren't you going like this? Man, Freeze versus him? I don't. You know what I mean? I mean, really, you're going to hire him?
Dan, You guys, Miami never kept their helmets on. They would score and helmets go straight off. So come on, man. Everybody knew who you guys look like because you guys, as soon as you do something, flip the helmet off. You know what I'm saying? They made rules because of you guys, man.
That was for the girls, man. We wanted to make sure when we walked into your place, man, that we won games and dated your girls. Barrett, hey, man, tell folks again where they can find you each and every single day. By the way, I know we don't communicate as much. You know, you're in my heart always, you and your mom. And
hey, man, you and your wife, man. I appreciate you guys.
Hey,
man. Tell your daughter good luck also. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Damn right, man. NBC
Sports Philadelphia. I do Eagles pre- and post-game show, and I also do college football on the weekends, man.
Love you, dude. Thank you so much for finding time for me, brother.
Oh, anytime, bro. Anytime, man. Anytime, man. Have a great show, bro.
You got it, man. Barrett Brooks, our good friend, man. I love this man. So good, too. So good. So good. And we do. My wife loves the guy. She's like, guy played 10-plus years? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, he's a Hall of Famer then, in her eyes. Hey, by the way, speaking of Hall of Fame places, Hooters, the official home of the National Football Show. Folks, do me a favor, man. Go on to northeasthooters.com and find that location nearest you so you can enjoy this football season. That is our official home. King of Prussia, we're going to be there in a couple weeks here. Just real soon, we're going to be there. And we're going to be doing so many great remotes this coming season. We invite you to come with us and have a great time. But if you're around in the Northeast area, northeasthooters.com. If you don't want to go into any one of the locations, go to hooterstogo.com. Also, try some of the great specials. Buy 10 wings, get 10 free, boneless. Wing Wednesdays, a 40-year tradition at Hooters. 40-year tradition that we've been doing this. 1983, that's the year the place was founded. All you can eat. Also, the great specials we have, happy hour. And on top of that, okay, $6, 6 items. Try the fried pickles. NortheastHooters.com. And when you go into any one of the Hooters, do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild brigade.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. Eagles. Eagles.
Shedeur Sanders now has a Rolls-Royce SUV. Man, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. Shedeur Sanders has a Rolls-Royce SUV now. I guarantee you the National Communist Association of America, a.k.a. the NC2A, is just hating this. It is one of the greatest bullseye targets that people will be coming after Deion and that program. I'm going to make a prediction to you. The NCAA and other people are going to try to turn in Colorado for recruiting infractions and for paying student athletes. You watch. That's how they got SMU. You know how they got SMU back in the day on the death penalty? Texas, Houston, A&M, Arkansas, all those Southwest Conference schools were like, wait a minute. Where did this thing come from? Colorado overnight? It's ranked 12th? Wait a minute. What's going on here? Has to be some illegal recruiting stuff. Oh, yeah. You got your star quarterback driving a Rolls Royce. In college. Oh, my God. The stuff I did back in the day was illegal. I drove a Corvette, had 1 mile on it. You weren't going to not have me. What do you think Big Sills is going to be driving around a Pinto or a Duster? Big Sills that wasn't going to work for me at Miami. I had a red Vet. I've posted pictures of it. My first car I ever owned was a Corvette. Honest to God, this is how I got the car. This is how I got the car, man. I go in, I leave my dorm room. I look and I go, whose car's that? I see a note in there. I can't say the name because he gets mad. Okay? And I looked in there and it says, congratulations, here's your car. It was a Corvette, brand new. Oh, it's fantastic. I so love that Shedeur gets, way to go. Man, they hate what this guy's doing. Get this, a guy like Jason Whitlock hates that. He hates that. You would think Jason Whitlock would be rooting for him. He's rooting against him. Can you believe that? I so am glad. I'm so glad this guy is able to do that. Oh, my God. That's such an FU thing. You're driving around with a Rolls Royce and you're playing the way you're playing. Oh, man, I love that. Good for you, Shedeur. You should have made it a Bentley, though. I'm more of a Bentley kind of guy. Okay? I would much rather have seen you in a Bentley than see you in the Rolls. Congratulations. By the way, my top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, my weekly ranking, my top 10 NFL teams. We're going to get to that here in a minute. Hey, think about that, Tone. Whitlock isn't someone my dad would vibe with. I'll let you cook on that. Hey, I'm just saying, dude. So my wife comes downstairs and she's like, are you listening to Jason Whitlock attacking Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders? I'm like, yeah, I don't get it. You should be rooting for these guys. You should be rooting for them. I don't get it. He thinks, hey, get this. He thinks because he's black, he gets to attack him. He thinks he's using his race to attack him. It's really disgusting. It's disgusting. It totally is. It's disgusting. You should be rooting him on, man. Don't get it. For what? Winning and turning around a program? Well, he's doing it in Deion's way. Remember something. As I said to you before, Yale, when you do something different out of the norm and you don't go by the way of everyone else, okay, you're going to be attacked. Okay? Okay? Whitlock does that for every black celebrity. Hey, man, one thing, Jeff, that Whitlock doesn't get, this guy tears down African-American icons who are role models. Hey, I don't like LeBron James for some of the shit that he does. He's been an ambassador to the NBA. He's been a tremendous sportsman. Some things I don't like about his politics, but at the end of the day, LeBron James has been one of the greatest things ever happened to American sports. He's never been in trouble. He's shown you how being a mobile athlete, everyone's doing it now, and he's a billionaire. What's the hate about that? What's the hate about that? I mean, you hate the guy for what? Okay, because what? He's not Jordan. Hey, by the way, I heard a debate today about Patrick Mahomes. Before I get to my top 10 list, I heard Philly 500 too at the bottom of the hour. I heard a debate about Patrick Mahomes, and Bayless threw this out there. Let me show you how somebody who likes to move the goalpost on such. So Bayless was asked the questions about Mahomes. Dan, do you still have your vet? Great show. Hollywood, no. I bought a Maserati and then I bought a Porsche after that. So that thing was long gone. So listen how Bayless changes the argument because he likes his certain athletes like Brady and Michael Jordan, okay? So when asked the question, could Patrick Mahomes, you think Patrick Mahomes could ever get into conversation of being the GOAT quarterback in NFL history? Do you guys think Mahomes wins a couple more Super Bowls, what have you? Do you think he could be in the conversation where you would look at him and go, he's in the conversation of being the GOAT when it comes to the greatest quarterbacks of all time? Niner goes, no, but top 5. Yes. Well, Bayless said this. He goes, well, you really see him winning 6 Super Bowls in Kansas City? Keyshawn Johnson and Richard Sherman were like, no, I don't see that. He's not going to win 7 Super Bowls. He's got 2 now. You need 5 more. I don't even see that. No, I don't see that. Well, we gauge everything by Super Bowls. That's how we look at the greatest. You know what my comment would be? Well, if that's your metric, how come you never put Bill Russell in that conversation? He's got 11 NBA championships. He almost doubles Jordan. How come you exclude him? If it's solely on championships, why isn't Russell's name ever brought up? If we go by the metric of championships, the greatest North American athletes of all time, and you're gauging them on championships, how come you don't go like this? Well, so what I'm saying is this. You move the yardsticks on the debate when it comes to Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Mahomes versus Brady because you're using championships, but it doesn't fit. The Jordan championship conversation doesn't fit because that's a team award. Some of you like to bring up, well, Jalen led a team to the Super Bowl. That's a team accomplishment in some people's eyes. Russell's never brought up in the conversation of the greatest player of all time, yet he's the greatest North American champion in American sports. No one has won more than 11 titles in any sport, in any individual. How come he's not the greatest American team sport champion? Jordan changed the game? What game? Jordan didn't change shit. Bird and Magic did. My point is, that's why Wilt is the greatest basketball player of all time. There's no debating it. He has records. You know why no one brings Wilt up? Because everything Wilt did was like fantasy. Was like nobody scoring 50 points a game and 25 rebounds a game in the same season. No one's doing that. 82 games, Chamberlain averaged 50 and 25. Nobody's doing that. No one's coming close to that. It'd be hard-pressed to score 40 a night. And you got the three-point rule. Get this. You got the three-point line, and you still can't do what Wilt did. So when the conversation about the greatest player, I think it depends who you talk to. Who's the greatest NFL player of all time in your eyes? This will be interesting. Who's the greatest NFL football player of all time? Who would you say? Who's the greatest football player that you've ever seen? Jim Brown. Brady? Barry Sanders? Rice? I'm Walter Payton, LT, Bo Jackson. See what I'm saying here? That conversation on who the greatest NBA guy or who the greatest NFL guy is, it can't be answered. It depends who you're talking to. So we may look at Mahomes down the line and go like this. He is the greatest. And with free agency being the way it is today, Shooter goes no free agency and only 8 teams when the Celtics had 6 Hall of Famers on the roster is why no one takes Russell into the modern day in his titles with more weight. So if you have less teams, means you have more talent condensed. Just because you have more teams, Shooter, doesn't mean you have a strong league. Look at the NHL. The NHL crippled itself by expansion. Baseball has crippled itself by expansion. You got pitchers on pitching staffs that have 5 ERAs today. When I was a kid growing up, if you had a 5 ERA, you were an A-ball. You were an A-ball. Nobody had 5s ERAs back in the day. Now you have a whole pitching staff of people with 5 ERAs. You water down your league when you do stuff like that. Now you have, look at a quarterback playing today. Dude, when people go like this, well, there's more teams today and free agency makes it difficult because rosters change every year. I think it was an interesting debate, but you can't see, I don't think you can use championships as a metric on who's greater than the other guy. To me, the greatest football player I've ever seen honestly, man, I can't pick between LT and Reggie White. I just can't pick between. Those are the 2 greatest players I've ever seen, and they never touched the ball. Jerry Rice is the greatest offensive weapon of all time. But in my opinion, I think it's Lawrence Taylor. I've never seen Every time those two players stepped on the field, no matter what the score was, they killed everybody in front of them. No matter if they won or lost, you couldn't block them. And maybe it's because I'm a defensive guy. They just, to me, they're the greatest football players I've ever seen. I mean, just the greatest. Impacted games, changed the way the game is played. Like when you played against the Eagles with Reggie, you were like this. Where's 92? I mean, certain players, you know the numbers to. 32, Jim Brown. 80, Rice. 56, Taylor. 92, Brown. I mean, you knew certain players' numbers. You didn't really have to say their names. 23, Jordan. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just that conversation's kind of weird. JJ Redick said Russell played against custodians. He may have, but he dominated his era. And that's what Jordan says. How can you talk about who the greatest is? You dominate your era. Now you're ripping a guy for playing in an era. You're just looking for shit. You're just looking for shit. All right, let me get to my list here. Philly 500 will join us at the bottom of the hour here. I'm going to do my top 10 teams first before I do my quarterback list. Okay? And obviously, this is kind of like a college poll that I do each and every single week. And I put a top 10 together, and here are my top 10 NFL teams. Number 10, I like the Seahawks team. I like the Seahawks. They rebounded. They're well coached. They've got a lot of good personnel on it. Geno had a comeback game, threw for over 323 yards, righted the ship. I think Seattle's going to win a ton of games this year. Number 9, I got the Saints here. They weren't great last night. 2017 victory, they weren't great. Well, the Eagles haven't been great. You're finding a way to win. That's a damn good-looking defense. Saints have a damn good-looking I think they're going to win a ton of games. By the way, if you really want to put it out there, you know, the NFC South I thought was going to be – I tell you this, though, Yale. One thing I have to say about the NFC South, they may not have a lot of superstar players at the quarterback position in that division, but the Bucs, the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons, there's some pretty good-looking defensive groups in that division. I mean, out of the gate so far, there's some good defenses in that division down there in the NFC South. Okay? I mean, Saints have one of the top defensive units, or I should say the Saints have one of the top defensive rosters in the entire league, in my opinion, right now. Number 8, I know it was a setback. I got the Lions here at number 8. Can I tell you my issues with the Lions? I think the Lions have to figure out how to handle success. You know, I think they got to handle success. They got to learn how to win. And they got to see, it was a 2 up and down week. You got, hey, you know, you go into Kansas City, you beat the defending champions, right? Then you turn around and you don't play your A game. Was that to be expected? I think so. Especially with a young football team that's still learning how to win. You know what I'm saying? They need to learn how to be consistent, is my take on these guys. They got to be a little bit more consistent. 7, I got the Bills here. I thought they took care of business against the Raiders. It was a well-called game by Ken Dorsey. And there is no question there was some coaching going on in the game between the Jets game and the Raider game. And there is no doubt they went to Josh Allen and they told Josh Allen, Do you know Josh Allen? I think he averaged 4 yards a play or 4 yards an attempt. It was one of like the lowest numbers since he's been a quarterback in Buffalo. What's that tell you? Well, we're not going high turnover plays here. So I think they dialed him back in. I mean, he threw for 275 yards. I think it was 274, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. They had him on a tight leash. They had him on a tight leash, in my opinion. And it looked good. Outside of that opening drive that the Raiders had, I don't think the Raiders really did anything. Okay? Number 6, I got the Chiefs here. Took care of business against Doug and the Jaguars. This guy has nothing on that offensive side of the football. Pacheco's not bad. He's getting better. Their O-line's okay. But, man, Patrick Mahomes, who just got a $210 million contract extension, and there's Lee Steinberg, his agent, pulling a Warren Moon on everybody. Did you see that little clause in the contract? He could never be paid lower than whatever the number is of the quarterbacks in the NFL, which means this. Every year, Patrick Mahomes' contract gets redone. Patrick Mahomes will most likely never be the highest paid player in consecutive years. But you know what he will be? Patrick Mahomes will be and have his contract redone, just like Warren Moon. Lee Steinberg did that move too. For Warren Moon was never the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. But you know what he had in there in the contract? He had in the contract that Warren Moon would never be paid lower than the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. So Moon sat at 3 all the time. So when Elway and Marino and Montana and all those guys got their contracts redone, Moon had his contract redone each and every single year. I got the Ravens at 5. I got the Eagles at 4. Dolphins have looked sensational on both sides of the ball. I got them at 3, and I got the Niners at 2, and the Cowboys 1 right now. Now, again, okay, this is obviously going to go up and down because of the war of attrition. And the Eagles, unlike a year ago, have been hit with the injury bug, especially in the secondary. So, as we were talking with Barrett in the last hour here, it just looks different right now. There's a lot of things that they're working on, in my opinion, right now to right the ship and to get this thing back on track again. So I would say this to you, okay? I think this Buck game is going to be an interesting ball game here, to say the least here. Let's go over to my friend Philly 500 here and get his thoughts on what he's seen so far. Brother!
What's happening, man? How are you?
I got to give it to you, man. You were patient with Jordan Davis.
Yes, my man. I am his PR guy. We have been promoting him nonstop. And hey, listen, Jordan Davis looks good. He looks really good. I'm very happy what I've seen from him so far. I see him on 3rd down. I think he looks like he's improved his pass rush. He's got a 1.5 sacks so far this year. And I think the combination of him and Jalen Carter is deadly. It's deadly.
Are you concerned on what you've seen so far, though, as an overall team in the first 8 quarters?
I would be lying if I said I wasn't. There are things I'm definitely concerned about. Some of it, maybe is a little different than other people. A lot of people are worried about the offense and how the offense looks and Jalen Hurts. Not that I don't worry about it, but I just think that when you look at like no preseason, then you come out week 1 and you're playing a horrible rain, bad weather, and then you got to turn around and play on Thursday. I just wonder how much all that stuff is compounding what's going on with them. So if this was, let's say, week 6, week 7, and they look like this, I'd be a little more worried about it. Where I'm concerned about the Eagles more than anything is the middle of the defense. I think they got a big problem at linebacker, and I think they got a problem at safety. And teams are going to keep attacking them over the middle of that field. And I don't think they have anybody on the field that can show that they can stop it right now. So that's my biggest concern.
I'm going to get to the defense here in a second. I want to go back to the offense. Well, if the offense is struggling, I want to take that. I want to take that back because they are putting points up.
Right.
But this is what and you tell me if you think I'm making more of this. So you had A.J. Brown complaining on the sidelines to Jalen Hurts about being open.
Mm-hmm.
Today on WIP, Dallas Goedert is talking about his role in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, you have two players that have voiced concern about their role in this offense. With all that being said, what's different? Is it really the loss of Miles Sanders? I mean, is it Sam Waddle? Is it Brian Johnson? Is it Jalen? Or is it all of it?
I think it's all of it. I do think that teams are giving them different, they're showing different looks to Jalen Hurts, because there are a couple plays, especially in that New England game, where he's just holding up, trying to figure out what's going on a little too much. So I think, you know how it goes. You come out, somebody plays good, defenses adjust, and then the good players, the great players, have to adjust to that. So I think that's what we're going through partly. But at the same time, you do have a new offensive coordinator, so things are a little bit different. You haven't played at all. And I think A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert are probably open a lot more, than we know. So they're probably a little bit frustrated. But, I think that, like I said, if this gets to like week 6 and week 7, it's still a problem, then I think there's a problem. But I just don't know what is because of the new coordinator, what is because they haven't played, and then they played 2 games in 5 days, and what is Jalen Hurts having to adjust and maybe having a problem with it or still learning. I'm not sure which is the biggest culprit right now.
How about this too? I think they're having him play apprehensive. I've been bringing this up with people. In the New England game, I saw him sliding, pre-sliding. I saw him sliding in the I get you want to protect yourself and you want to play all 7. I get it. But I think that's affected the entire approach of the offense, that even the passing game looks apprehensive. Him running out in space looks apprehensive. It's almost like there's a confidence issue when it comes to the play caller and the quarterback, and I think it's affecting it. Am I making more of that? Because the next time you watch, I mean, last year, he didn't care about the contact that much. This year, he's getting down prior to being hit. And those were extra 5, 10, 15 yards per game. And also, I thought it opened up the RPO a little more. And to me, it just maybe I'm making more of it, Philly.
I have to go back and watch because you could be right. I do feel like if you look in those first 2 games, I thought there were times, especially in that first quarter of the Vikings, where they're like trying to run Jalen Hurts too much, like they're trying to force feed it. And it just wasn't there. I think that natural progression for him as a quarterback, I think you have to start to rely as you get older more on your arm than your feet. That's what happens. I think quarterbacks that last in this league, Randall, Steve Young, as they get older, they run less. So, maybe it's just a matter of that. I'm not sure. I really am not.
Let's go on the defensive side. Eagles defense in the passing game, they're ranked 31st in the NFL right now. And Bradbury looks like he's coming back. According to Nick, it looks like Blankenship is trending towards playing on Monday night. And you got Mike Evans, 9 straight 1,000-yard seasons. The guy's a 10,000-yard guy.
Yeah.
He's 29 years old. This guy's knocking on the door of the Hall of Fame. Baker Mayfield has his Bucs 2-0. That's a pretty good-looking defense on that side of the ball as well at every level. Yep. I mean, 31st ranked defense in the pass game. You're giving up 400 yards in total offense. I mean, concern going into that Monday night game?
I think if they keep playing the way that they're playing, it is a concern. I think it'll be a close game. I think the spread was like, I forget what it was, but it was under 7.
It was like 6.5, and now it's 5.
Now it's 5. See, when it's around 5 or 6.5, that always makes me wonder what's going on, But I expect it to be a tight game until the Eagles kind of get rolling. I think it's going to be. However, the defense is concerning, but it's the middle of the field. I mean, you look how New England should never have been able to move the ball like that, but they just kept going to those tight ends, kept going over the middle field. I think that's a problem with linebackers and at safety right now, and I think that's where the area they got to fix. I'm not so concerned about Slay and Bradbury. Bradbury didn't play Monday night, so I'm not worried about those guys, but I do worry. You got no Avonte Maddox now. Nakobe Dean did not look good in that first game, and then he gets hurt. So you're real thin at linebacker. And then for whatever reason, I don't think they have given Sidney Brown an opportunity to start right now. And then you had no Blankenship. So I'm a little concerned about that middle of that defense.
How about this too? Maybe what's affecting that secondary a little bit is the ineffectiveness right now of Hassan Reddick because of his injury. Because when Reddick gets pressure and forcing fumbles and tackles for losses, you're pressuring the quarterback. You don't have a lot of time sit back there. They did create 4 turnovers, that defense, in the last game. So, they've been, as Tona said, they've been a little bit opportunistic here. Still, we all said it. I think you even said it too, Philly, that, this defense is going to take a little time to gel there, and the offense can't have 3 and out. So this thing, they're putting them really in a pretty tough position right now. So Reddick's injury may be bigger than what we think.
It might be, but you know what else I noticed is if you look at the New England game and you look at Minnesota, look how quick the quarterback gets the ball out. Yeah. They're getting the ball out like that. Like it's got to be like 1.5 seconds. It's gone. And you're playing 7-8 yards off the receivers. All they do is turn around. So I think that the Eagles, I'd like to see them press a little bit more, push up and challenge those receivers, and maybe get the quarterback to hold the ball longer, because everybody's going to be scared of the Eagles pass rush and 70 sacks last year. They're getting rid of the ball quick. The one play where Josh Sweat caused the fumble, the defensive player, I think it was a linebacker, slid over and he wanted to go to Jefferson, but he had to hold the ball just a little longer, and it gave the defensive line chance to get to him. So I think maybe some adjustments got to be in order, because teams are going to just get rid of the ball like that. And if you give them 7-8 yards cushion, they're just going to take it all day.
Couple last questions for you. Your thoughts on the coaching, head coach, coordinators on both sides?
I haven't been that impressed with the coordinators on both sides. I was hoping I would like to see Sean Desai a little more aggressive. And as far as the offensive coordinator, there is just some calls he made. The first game versus New England, and then I would say the first quarter in the Vikings game. What was nice was that he actually decided to start running, and we got to see DeAndre Swift and what he could do. And I tell you this, if Gainwell does not get hurt, we would have not have seen DeAndre Swift. They would have gone with Gainwell. So I think we caught a giant break, because I think now everybody knows DeAndre Swift's your number one running back.
What's their love affair with Gainwell?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I thought maybe, it was because, he was drafted and he's been there. But, you could clearly see that the difference in explosiveness between Gainwell and him, it's obvious. And I really wonder if Gainwell plays that Minnesota game, would we even have seen DeAndre Swift get that opportunity? I don't know.
Do you think Sirianni should take over the play calling if this thing goes sideways on Monday?
I don't know about Monday. Like to me, I know this sounds crazy, but we're only in September, and literally these guys didn't play at all preseason, right? So they didn't play all preseason. Even the offensive coordinator hasn't had a chance to adjust. And then you go from week 1 to week 2. How can they really fix anything in that short of a time from the New England game to that Vikings game on Thursday? So I actually thought in the second half of that game, I thought they started to kick off some of the rust and kind of get into a rhythm. So I expect them to be a lot better on Monday night and start to play better. But I still don't know how many games they need really before we can start saying, we got to do something.
How about this one here? Last one here. Do you think Monday dictates this? I think they're going to stick with people in-house right now. But if something looks bad, pass defense. I'm not saying lose, but something pass defense, linebackers aren't cutting it. Does Howie make a trade? Because next year, it's like 12 or 14 picks they're going to have, plus the compensation picks. Do you start packaging some of those things up to go to somebody and try to make a trade? I mean, do you think that Monday game kind of dictates that? Because if they win, they may just go in-house.
Oh, yeah. I think it's already in motion. I don't think it matters whether they win or lose. I think it's emotion. I think Howie's doing his thing, man. He's calculating them calculations. He's figuring it out right now. You don't. I don't need another week to know that you got to do something at linebacker and at safety. So I think that it's already in motion. And it doesn't matter what happens on Monday night. That's what I think.
Cowboys are the best team in the NFL right now.
Totally overrated. Totally overrated.
Wait a minute.
Come on. Wait. The Giants couldn't pick their nose for 6 quarters. Didn't know what was going on. Then he plays, Zach Wilson, the greatest backup quarterback ever. They played nobody. Let me tell you, that Jets game completely changed when Sauce Gardner drops an easy walk-in pick 6 for no reason. They didn't play anybody yet, Sills.
How about the 49ers?
49ers are good. 49ers look good, and Purdy looks better than I expected. I mean, I'm not saying Dallas isn't bad, but you know, everybody around the league bend the knee to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not doing that. We'll see what they got. I don't think that their offense has looked all that great, and they've played literally 2 offenses that can't do anything. But I still think it's the Eagles, Niners, and Cowboys in the conference. You know,
do you still think though that if you really had to put the first, I mean, and people go, well, it's 2 games. Well, there's only 17 of these, so there's not a lot of them.
Yeah,
the Dolphins have probably looked the best.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins, they could score, man. I mean, they could score points, and Dolphins have looked pretty good. Although I thought New England did a pretty good job against their offense for a while, which, you know, made me feel a little bit better about how we played. But yeah, I mean, it's early. It's really, you know, only the Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl in September. But what do they do in December, right? They lose, they choke. It doesn't matter. I have seen this so many times with Dallas.
Here's their September trophy.
That's it. They haven't done anything. And I'm not saying that they're bad. We'll see. But it's like, okay, you know, when we had Andy Reid and we would go to the NFC Championship game every year, to me, it didn't matter what we did in the regular season. It was like our season doesn't begin till we get to that point we haven't been able to get past. I need to see that from the Cowboys, you know.
Just
that's
not
how
sold, right? Is there anything the Cowboys could do to sell you?
Trade me Micah Parsons.
Trade him to Philly, right?
Well, yeah, he'll be an Eagle eventually. But no, I think that if the Cowboys beat some teams that, you know, are pretty good, like, okay, I think they play San Francisco in a few weeks. You go out and you beat the crap out of the Niners, I'm going to say, dang, Dallas is good.
I think they got a layup game this week too.
Yeah, they got the Arizona. I mean, Arizona blew 2 leads in the first 2, just like I expect Jonathan. Hey, I'll tell you this. If Jonathan Gannon was our defensive coordinator, we would be 0-2 right now.
Oh, yeah.
I have no doubt. We would be 0-2.
Hey, Philly, great point. Look, I think Desai, with all the shit that's going on back there, I think he's done a decent job. I'm okay with him.
Yeah. I mean, there are things I'd like to see him do, but I do not believe Jonathan Gannon would have held on to that Vikings game. There's no way. No way. Hey, Sills, I wanted to say I saw the interview with Rock last night, man. I thought that was fantastic, man. I thought that was fantastic. What a great guy.
I can't believe how – and get this, Tone was with me. You should have seen this, dude. He spent like another 8-10 minutes with me after asking me about my daughter, just cutting things up. I mean, he could have stayed all day with us. I mean, I know they've already said they're going to do it again for us in a couple months. So, I mean –
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, man, we got a really great friend. I didn't know that he even knew who I was.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know that he played at Miami, but it was really cool. And we're becoming closer and closer friends. I mean, he's texting me now. We talk. Who would have thought? Get this.
Yeah.
I got $22 in my pocket, And I'm friends with Ice Cube and The Rock.
Right?
Fame is overrated, Philly. Always
Yeah.
remember that. Fame is
Yeah.
overrated.
Absolutely, 100%.
Tell
It is.
people where they can find you.
Just type in Philly 500. It'll come up. You'll see me probably yelling at the camera or something, but there's always something going on. So, but yeah, I
I'll see
love
you in
that
Philly.
interview, man.
I
Yeah, I
appreciate
love
it.
that
Thank
interview.
you so much,
Yeah,
Philly.
man.
Thank you, man,
Take
for
care.
finding time. Such
Absolutely.
a legendary podcast that he does. His show's fantastic. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my man. Peace.
You got it. All right, folks. I've been telling you this now with our friends at Hooters. By the way, okay, you've seen the code word that's been going through the last 3 hours. And all you have to do is email us your information. You get an opportunity at winning yourself some great gift certificates with our friends at Hooters. It's the 40th anniversary. You see the email right there, Dan Sileo Show at gmail.com. We got 2 new winners. We've already done this now 2 straight weeks. Congratulations. Look at Maniac. Look at the Maniac, man. Jersey guy right there, man. He's part of the winning crew here with Andy Snyder. Congratulations to you guys. All you have to do is email us the code word. You get in line. And next Monday, we will announce the winners of this week's picking of the gift certificates from our friends at Hooters. Hit the timeout. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. We're going to take a timeout. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball, one smoke.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
Thank you to my boy Philly 500. By the way, tomorrow Seth Joyner and Boomer Esiason will join us, and we'll talk to those two dudes and get their spins on the Eagles, the NFL, or the Cowboys being overhyped too much. You know, if you're Dallas this plays right into, I mean, look, I shouldn't say that. I would embrace this as much as possible. I mean, I would. You're expected to win. You have expectations to win. You're supposed to win. You put yourself in. This is like the Deion factor in a way. Okay, this is like the Deion. Hey, dude, I don't have a problem with teams that are expecting to. What's wrong with expecting to win a championship? You know, I like how a lot of people look at half the story here when it comes to the Cowboys and Jerry Jones's ownership. You know, true, they haven't done shit in 27 years. I get it. But in his ownership, the entire book does say 3 Super Bowl trophies. You can't exclude that. Like, you can't take 3 chapters out of the story that's changing the narrative of his ownership. I mean, that's like you taking the Chip Kelly years out of Jeffrey Lurie. You can't tell the full story without putting all the chapters in the book. So we have a propensity to go, what have you done for me lately? And I agree with that. I'm not suggesting that that's not a conversation, because it is. What, are you consistent all the time? Are you a good team all the time? The Cowboys are a good team pretty much since Jones has owned the team. There's been some downtimes because of poor hires, meddling and getting in the way, poor draft choices. Okay? There's no question about it. But at the end of the day, would you rather be Jerry Jones? Hey, that's a great question. You know, Tony, I never thought of this. So would you rather have Jerry Jones as an owner or Jeffrey Lurie? Who's a better owner? You think Jeffrey Lurie's a better owner than Jerry Jones? Really? On what metric? I didn't hear it, Maniac. I'll go back and listen. It's not even close. I agree, Batman. I mean, what's your metric? Silver medals? Who's a better owner? The owner of the Cowboys or your owner in Philly? No. See, James is trying to dissect the ownership. Who's a better owner? Who's a better owner? Calvin says Jeffrey Lurie. Knowing everything I know, I still take Lurie. No metric of measuring stick for me. I don't like how Jerry moves, so I'm choosing Lurie. I'm not going to discount Jerry's contributions. I just don't like him. Okay? So you must not like the 3 rings. 3-1. You got to keep it 100, Sills. I got him. No, I ain't loyal to the soil. I got you. Interesting. You take a guy who's finished second more than you take a guy who's finished first. And a guy who's raised the standard of the league. And a guy who's changed the fortunes of the league. And has won 3 Super Bowls. And is a Hall of Famer himself. Jerry Jones is a Hall of Fame owner, too. Just, I mean, interesting. Interesting how, boy, this Cowboy hate, man, pretty deep. I think your real question is, would I take Jimmy over? No, the question would be, would you take Jimmy over Andy? Or Doug? That's the question. Would you take Jimmy over Andy Reid? Jimmy over Andy for sure. Them 3 rings come from Jimmy Johnson, not Jerry Jones. Oh, I can't. Hey, Barry got one. Yeah, Barry was the caretaker and the doorman on that one. Then he was fired 2 years later. Yeah, for his team going the other way. Jimmy just knows what buttons to push. See, I'm not getting caught on tape on this one. People play this shit back and they'll play it back for him. I got caught once. I'm not getting caught in this one. No way. I'm not getting caught on this one here, man. Go on, Sileo. Tell us how you really don't be no way. No way. I'm not getting caught on this one here. Jimmy, you're the best. Jimmy, you won those Super Bowls without any help from Jerry. There. I had to put it out there. Jerry did gots to get those Super Bowl rings. There, I said it. Arthur's like Sileo's backpedal. Hey, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry I brought that freaking topic up. Hey, great, Tone. Way to produce that one for me. Tone made me backpedal. Seriously, like I was Deion Sanders and a zone coverage now. Hey, Sills, wait a second here. How about Jones versus Jimmy? Hey, well, you know, There you go, Keon. Jerry hired Jimmy. Sure. Okay. Jimmy was a scary MFer. Oh, hey, you guys see it every time he comes on, and you hear me what I say. That's not the same guy I played for. Hey, Maniac, that's not the same guy I played for. The guy you see on Fox, I don't know who that guy is. That's not how he operated. Yeah. Dude, I told you I'm in Pittsburgh once. We're on a trip and we're gonna go play West Virginia. Guys were making noise. And Alonzo Highsmith and Michael and myself were kind of cracking jokes in the food line. This guy comes from the front of the damn line. He looks and he starts ripping these freshmen. I'll send your freaking asses home on a bus. It'll take you weeks to get home. And he's looking at these freshmen, and finally, right before, because he knew it was me and Alonzo, he goes, I will send all of you back. And he looked right at us, and he goes, and I mean all of you. And I'm like this. He said it. Yeah, he said it. I didn't. Alonzo goes like this. He looked at me. I go, hey, I didn't say shit. No. Oh, man. Yeah, that's not the same guy, dude. That's not the same guy that you see on TV. That guy was a mean-ass dude. I got time for it, man. I'm going to do it right now. The Big Sills Top 10 Quarterbacks. We do it every Tuesday. Each Tuesday throughout the year. 10. Geno Smith. Seahawks. 9. The 2-0 Saints. Derek Carr. 8. Jared Goff. 7. Josh Allen. Bills. 6. Eagles. Jalen Hurts. 5, Lamar Jackson, Ravens. 4, Brock Purdy, 49ers. 3, Dak is back. 2, Tagovailoa, Dolphins. And number 1, hard to take this guy out of there, it's Patrick Mahomes. How you doing? Hurts is 6 this week. All right. Tomorrow, Seth Joyner, Boomer Esiason. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you please do me a favor and hit the like button here. Thank you again. Xander, Big Joe, we thank you. Tone, keep kicking ass. I'm glad to see that the internet was good today for you, brother. It's all good. Maybe a little crappy for me here today, but all good. We'll see you tomorrow, guys, 3 to 6, and we shall see you on the flip side.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
If you own a company and you're not